This podcast is part of the Everyday Heroes Podcast Network, the network for first responders and those who support them.
Disclaimer. All views expressed on What Makes Us Fire are solely those of the person or persons giving them. What Makes Us Fire does not represent or claim to represent any particular city or fire department, and therefore make the claim that all views and standpoints are affiliated with What Makes Us Fire and with What Makes Us Fire only. Any mention of certain fire departments or cities within the interviews are solely for informational and opinion-based dialogue. In short, if you have a problem with what's published, just say something about it and don't be a Richard.
What is up, What Makes Us Fire family? This is Josh, your host of the What Makes Us Fire podcast, founder of the What Makes Us Fire nonprofit foundation, a nonprofit dedicated to helping our civil service members, be it military or first responder, active retired veteran, and our volunteers get and receive inpatient mental health treatment. And the way we do that here at What Makes Us Fire is we make sure that the financial aspect of going and receiving that treatment is not a deciding factor in any way, shape, or form. That includes up to supplementing their income while they're getting that treatment, actual payment of the treatment, taking care of their mortgage, their car note. You know, it's too often that an opportunity for us to go and get help arises that we have to pass on because we're going to be out of work, or we won't be able to work the overtime that we rely on, or our second job, or even run our own business while we are going to get help. My mission is that any civil service member should not be making another sacrifice just to help themselves. They already make a lot of sacrifices helping others. If you'd like to learn a little bit more about the What Makes Us Fire nonprofit foundation, you can check us out at www.whatmakesusfire.com. You can learn a little bit about the nonprofit, what we got going on. You can make a donation. You can get some What Makes Us Fire gear if that's something that you like. I think it looks pretty cool, but then again, I'm biased. You could also look up other past podcasts and upcoming events. Speaking of upcoming events, March 25th and 26th, the Great Londini Meetup. That is right, the Great Londini from TikTok, the 7.5 million followed. I didn't say that right. Great Londini is putting on a meetup in Cocoa Beach, Florida on March 25th and 26th. He's doing this to help a nonprofit called Tackle 22 Fishing. They are a 501c3 nonprofit whose mission it is to tackle the 22 veterans we lose every day to suicide. And they do that by taking our veterans out on fishing trips and fishing excursions that you wouldn't be able to find anywhere, that a lot of us probably wouldn't even be able to ever afford. Well, they take the veterans out free of charge to give them something to look forward to let them know that they are not alone and that life can and will get better. On April 8th and 9th, the Cheer Choice Awards put on by Spread the Cheer USA is being put on in Las Vegas, Nevada. That is right, Las Vegas at the MGM Grand. Hosted by Spread the Cheer USA, sponsored by Soldier Solutions. If you are not familiar with Soldier Solutions, they are also a company, an apparel company that helps veterans get them off their feet. They also donate to Operation Companion, which is a nonprofit that helps civil service members and our veterans get emotional support animals like dogs and other things. Now, here's the thing, y'all. What Makes Us Fire made 3 categories in the Cheer Choice Awards. Cheer Choice Awards are an award show for social media creators that are not only making a change on social media, but throughout the world. They're trying to make a difference bigger than just on the screen. What Makes Us Fire was blessed enough to make 3 of those categories. I can't thank you all enough. And I can't wait to see if we made the top 5. We made the final round of voting, but we'll see. In any case, if you would like to hang out with us, all proceeds go to Spread the Cheer USA. They are a 501c3 that helps needy families and children during the holiday seasons. Their mission is no child should be left wanting during those times. And I agree. So What Makes Us Fire is helping them by promoting it and doing whatever else we can to help Spread the Cheer USA. If you would like to learn more, you can go to spreadthecheerusa.org, or you can go to the WhatMakesUsFire.com events page and learn more information there. I also want to thank the Spagnoletti Law Firm here in the Houston, Texas area, but they also work nationwide. If you are needing any type of law counsel or lawyer counsel, check out the Spagnoletti Law Firm. They are the What Makes Us Fire legal counsel, and they are a great sponsor of the What Makes Us Fire Foundation. I also want to thank Everyday Heroes Podcast Network, a podcast network where every single podcast that you listen to on that network, it is run by, hosted by, and produced by a civil service member, just like myself. Go give them a follow. Check out all the other podcasts from other civil service members. Okay, now to the nuts and bolts of it. On the episode today, I have a Navy veteran. His name is Tex. He is a good friend of mine. We actually met up in San Antonio during the San Antonio TikTok Riverwalk Takeover. That was a fundraising event for What Makes Us Fire. It was our first one, actually. And he came out there and he has shown great support to the What Makes Us Fire nonprofit and to the podcast. And I had him on because his story is a little bit different. His story and the mental health issues that he deals with didn't necessarily come from the job. They came from something else. But that doesn't make his mental health issue any less than. Just because he didn't get it from being a military veteran does not mean he doesn't battle with mental health issues. We go through that. We talk about it. He lets us know what his process is. He allows me to challenge his thinking a bit, which I tend to do a lot of. My bad. Anyway, you can find him on social media, known as Texas Infidel and Bearded Texan and Texas Infidel 2.0. And he's got a bunch of them. You'll hear all of them. I don't know why he's got so many. Anyway, without further ado, please help me welcome my friend Tex, better known as Texas Infidel, on your social media. He is making a huge change. He's being a difference for a lot of people. And check out his story.
For the love of God, please show Baby Yoda with the huge vagina in the middle of it again. Now that we're recording.
I mean, I get what you're saying now.
Yeah, no, it looks like, Baby Yoda with the big vagina right in the middle of it.
Right? Yeah.
Jesus.
But they're fucking house slippers though.
Oh, so you can fit your whole foot inside Baby Yoda's vagina. Got it.
Yeah.
I didn't know Baby Yoda was a female, but yay, you learn something new every day. Bro, okay. I'm not going to go a whole lot into what the podcast is about because you already know. I've already invited you. You're familiar with everything, and I'm going to try to fix this light real quick without fucking everything else up. Let's see. That's better, kind of. It still sucks. Anyway. So we'll just hop into it. I love the fact that we started off with Baby Yoda's vagina. I don't know why you brought that in. I'm actually a little concerned.
Well, I mean, it was just one of those. Should had I bought those? No, but it's Baby Yoda, and fucking I made back the money what I spent on buying those, and then some doing DoorDash. So.
Did you DoorDash in the Baby Yoda vagina slippers?
No, I didn't.
You probably would get bigger tips if you did.
if the customer were to open up the door and notice it, maybe, possibly.
All right. Well, you already know about the podcast, man. Everything goes. You do not have to watch your language. You don't have to. I mean, dude, just be yourself. Basically, be like we were in San Antonio. Granted, in San Antonio, I was everywhere. I enjoyed it, but I enjoyed it and I was working at the same time. It's this weird dynamic. But Tex, brother, do you want people, can I say your first name, like legal first name?
Yeah, I don't care.
All right. Michael, better known as Tex, formerly known as Texas Infidel on TikTok, now known as this one. You chime in.
Oh, Michael.
No, on TikTok.
Oh shit. Oh, Big Tex. Oh,
Yep.
oh, my bad.
What's your TikTok handle now?
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, what's your TikTok handle now? Yo, he doesn't
Big
remember
Mac.
his.
Arriving. What's going on? Welcome to the ship show.
Oh my God, you actually did it. Oh. What I meant to say, I guess I wasn't clear. If people are going to search for you on TikTok, what is the screen name they will be typing in to find you?
Okay. All right. So we got Texas Infidel 88, and then we got Texas Infidel 88 _ 2.0. And then we have Bearded Texan _ 88.
Bearded Texan _ 88. You have 3 different accounts.
Yes.
Why?
Well, so Texas Infidel was my first one. And once TikTok got to that point where they were just like banning people for no reason on lives and, giving permanent bans for no reason, I was just like, let me make up a backup account just in case. And then my Bearded Texan, I made that one sometime last year. And that was for I'm a brand ambassador for the Beard Struggle. So I use that to just kind of push their products.
Oh, okay. So you're a pretty face for them.
Yeah.
Got it.
I don't know about pretty, but
I mean, you said it. I didn't. No, man, I appreciate you coming on the show. I invited you a while ago to be a guest on the show, and I have to apologize. I've, you know what I've been going through and everything else that I've been trying to deal with. And it wasn't until recently, literally probably just about a week ago, that my girlfriend Bianca and I sat down, and she was like, we are going to get you scheduled. We're going to sit you down. That way you're not like trying to remember this, remember that. So we sat down this past 3 days, and there was like 50 something people that I had to reach out to talk to about the nonprofit, about the podcast, and just people that I continued to forget to reach out to because, well, I have all this other shit going on. It doesn't help that I have ADHD, and doesn't help that I'm dealing with all the other shit the personal life. But me and you, we finally got this to happen. And the way I like to start everything off is to let people know how we met. And very similar to a lot of other guests that you have heard on the show, I met them through social media, through TikTok. Of all damn things, TikTok. Yes, I believe TikTok should be fucking sponsoring this goddamn show because we mention them all the damn time, and we have a lot of good things to say about them. We bitch a little bit about what, how they like to implement their rules
handle
and everything.
things.
But in general, it's a pretty damn good app. And I think what happened was I think I made a few videos, and you reached out to me after a couple of videos I think that you saw, and you're like, whoa, like this is hitting home, or something to the effect of that. And I said, thank you. You learned about the nonprofit, and you were all about helping us out. And I can't thank you enough for that as well. And since then, me and you kind of just grew this bromance, I guess.
Yeah.
Hashtag no homo, but bromance of just supporting each other and what we're about, and how we're trying to make a difference on social media. You're a veteran, a naval veteran. So definitely when I say hashtag no homo, bro, I mean hashtag no homo. I mean,
I mean, we could talk about some sea stories.
Oh God, I don't want to hear about your semen stories.
Oh Jesus.
Oh God. I have a feeling this podcast is going to be a little bit more lighthearted than my other ones. I just, like I told you, I just got done recording Smash Ohana's podcast yesterday and I was working on editing. But his podcast was really, really good. He was down to earth, way more down to earth than I think even you see on his lives and everything else. His name's Shane, and you know, he was just really down to earth, really cool guy. But there was a little bit of, I couldn't dog on him too much because I didn't know him as well as I know you. But I'd still dog on him. He's a 49ers fan.
Oh my God.
Of course I'm going to dog on him.
You know the reason why they're called the 49ers, right?
Why is that?
Because they can't make it past the 50-yard line.
Ooh. Smash, he said it, not me. Anyway, and I also found out he's only 5'7". Yeah. Huge dude. And when you watch his videos, you think that dude's like 6 foot something because he's jacked and everything else. No, he's 5'7".
So is he standing like on stilts or something?
No, it's he knows how to work camera angles.
Ah, okay.
So basically he knows how to make things look bigger than they actually are on his videos.
Oh, so he has experience with that. So he has experience.
Well,
so he already has experience. Go
watch his TikTok videos. You would think he's like 6 foot something.
All right.
Shane, brother, if you listen to this podcast, man, I'm one, I'm not sorry, but two, I'm a little sorry because I'm dogging on you and you don't have a way to fight back. But it's okay. That's pretty much the only way I would ever fight him is if there was a way he couldn't fight back. So this is the way I'm doing it. His son can probably kick my ass, both of our asses at the same time. Like,
oh shit.
If you look at some of his videos, they go to the gym like every fucking day, and his son is just as jacked as he is. So
built like a shit brick house,
bro. Yeah. But like me and you are like fucking twigs compared to them, and we're not like skinny. Like we're in shape. No, these guys are fucking bricks. Like,
fuck.
Yeah. It's ridiculous. Anyway, enough about Smash. He already was on the podcast. I don't need to talk about him anymore. But yeah, we met on social media, man. And, you know, you started showing support for the nonprofit and you liked what I was putting out there. I don't know why you did, but you did. And I appreciate it. And then since then, you know, me and you would have some banter back and forth. And then we did a meetup in September of last year in San Antonio, Texas. October. Sorry. Thank you for remembering. Again, got a lot of shit in my head. October of last year in San Antonio, Texas. It was the WhatMakesUsFire TikTok Riverwalk takeover. We took over the San Antonio Riverwalk. There was like 4 or 5 establishments that we went and hung out at throughout the day, and I thought it was a lot of fun. It was a pretty damn good
blast.
For our first meetup like that. I think it went pretty good. It was our first like big meetup, quote unquote big meetup. We sold almost 200 tickets, but only had like I think we had maybe 60 people at most at one time show up. So it was upsetting, but it was also awesome because even the people that didn't show up, they made a contribution to the nonprofit, and which was awesome. I had a blast too. It was great meeting everybody. It was great meeting Team Telly. It was great meeting you and Steph, and a bunch of other amazing people and creators from social media that support civil service. They support military and first responders, and a lot of them were civil service, military and first responders, and including yourself. So you actually ended up winning best costume. You and Stephanie won best costume for the Halloween party, the costume party portion. I think it was the beard and the eye patch, to be honest with you. I think that, and you guys, I think, put the most effort into it.
Like, I just kind of threw it out there, like spitballed it to her. I was like, what if we went as a pirate couple? And she was like, all right, let's do it.
Well, you know, go figure. Pirates are on ships all the time. You're in the Navy. Here's the thing, though. I'm surprised she didn't dress up like as a dude pirate. Sorry, that was mean. Stephanie,
Nah.
when you listen to this, I apologize. I apologize in advance for more jokes that will be coming for sure.
Yeah,
And by the
yeah.
way, bro, if you have jokes on me, you know you can hit me with them.
Yeah, I know.
I have a feeling some type of joke about firemen and sliding down poles is coming, because that's original. But but that's how we met, man. And I invited you on the show. I'm wondering what it was. I want to ask you, what it was about What Makes Us Fire that, one, had you support us, and two, why the hell would you agree to come on a podcast that is very mental health forward? And I'm going to be prying and asking you to share some things that maybe you haven't shared yet.
Well, I mean, so for one, I battle with mental health myself. And I'm a huge supporter of, military first responders, because I got friends that work law enforcement. I have friends that work firefighting. I got, I'll prior corrections. I got friends that work in corrections. So, huge support to all of them. And I may not know that the shit that they go through, like police, firefighters, EMS, all that. But as far as the battle inside, like the struggles with mental health, I know where they're coming from. And it sucks. And I want to, just be another outlet for them.
Okay. But why'd you follow What Makes Us Fire? Like, we'll go back to my original question. Why'd you like, what was it like? All right, so I put a lot of stuff out there, and I'm fully aware that I am 100% honest. I put what I put out there a lot of the times for me, because it's my outlet. It's how I express what's going on in my head. I'll make a video. If I like what it has, I'll put it out there. A lot of the times, the videos that you see, when you see me talking, you see me saying something, I'm talking to myself. I'm saying thank you to myself. I'm saying, hey, the monsters are winning right now. Hey, you're kicking the person's that, like, there's all these things that I'm talking to myself about. But when the message gets put out, a lot of people can relate to it. And when they can relate to it, I feel like my struggle is now not only, it's still my struggle, but it's not just my struggle. I have support. There's people out there that don't know, but they understand. And I'm wondering if there was something like that maybe caught your attention, or was it just, he's a firefighter, I'm going to support him?
It was one of the videos it was a video that you posted about not turning it off. And I used that sound.
I remember that. You asked me if you can use that sound, and I told you, if it's there, use it. Like, if it's there, use it. I make sure all of my stuff is not private in any sense of the imagination. Somebody wants to use it, no big deal. There's a reason why I put the stuff out there. If you want to do edit, you want to stitch it, you want to save it, you want to do whatever you want to edit it and make me look like a pretty princess, I don't care. It's out there for everybody. And if it brings some type of joy to somebody, even if they're trying to be an asshole, fine. You got joy out of it, that's fine. I got what I needed out of it, and you can get out of it what you want to get out of it. That's fine with me. Now, barring dragging my name through the mud or lying about me, that's different.
Slander. Yeah, that's slander.
That's different.
Story.
But if you want to use it for fun, you want to use it for something serious, whatever, anything I put out there is for everybody. And because I put it out there for myself, it's like art, right? Seeing a picture, somebody can be like, oh, that means this to me. And then somebody else looks at it and, really? Because I think of this when I stare at this picture, you know what I mean? And it's like, that's kind of what my videos are for. It's to spark conversation, challenge perspective, and let people know that it's okay to share what most think is not okay to share. So that's what I put out there. And I've noticed that you started to do a little bit of that as well. And like you said before, you want to be somebody that military and civil service and first responders can go to and be an outlet, be somebody they can just talk to. And I respect that about you wholeheartedly, because you've been that for me. I've gone into your lives, I've seen some of your videos, and they hit. And I'm saying thank you for doing that. Not a lot of us are out there doing that. Let me rephrase. There are plenty of us out there doing that. Not a lot of us doing it in a way that is not characterized or embellished. We're just telling it like we see it.
Right.
So I do appreciate you coming on the show. That's how we met, social media. And
thanks for inviting me.
Of course, man. Like, come on. Really? I had to have the shit show on the podcast.
Hey, sometimes it does become a shit show.
Oh, I know, especially when I jump in. So for anybody that hasn't jumped into a What Makes Us Fire live after dark.
Oh, yeah.
If dark humor and bedroom humor is not your thing, stay out of the live.
Yeah, stay out.
Stay out of the live. I say I have a dirty mind. My mind's in the gutter. I have dark humor, and I like to try to make people feel uncomfortable with jokes. Because if you can't laugh at the shitty things in life and the uncomfortable things in life, then you're going to continuously being uncomfortable and you're going to continuously feel shitty about them. I say laugh in their face. Don't allow them to affect you. That's just me, though. It is healthy. Is it humble? No, it's not humble at all. Is it PC? Nope, it's fucking not PC at fucking all. And do I give a shit? No, fuck you, I don't care. Right. It's as simple as that.
Fuck your feelings.
Yeah, like you're gonna feel the way you want to feel about it. And here's the thing: not one person in this world gets to dictate how you feel about anything. Nobody can jump inside your brain, connect the little wires, or push the little chemicals to make you feel something when you see or hear something. That's on you. That's on you. Now, that's no excuse for somebody to be a dickhead, but if they're just being something and you're offended by it and you actually have, it's not directed towards you or anything else and you're still offended by it, that's on you.
Yeah.
You get to make the choice. So, c'est la vie. Goodbye.
Yeah, that's why I say fuck your feelings.
Fuck your feelings. Because these are about my feelings right now.
Yeah.
So, I've been talking a lot. I apologize.
No, that's cool.
I talk a lot, especially because of the podcast and because of the lives and everything else. You need to tell me to shut up.
No.
When you want.
Hey, I ain't gonna tell you how to run your show.
Well, so the podcast is about having a conversation and about learning about who you are, where you came from, and then what the process was for you on certain aspects of life that you've gone through. And that's the cool thing about the podcast, is that we can talk about life in general. Life in general, we can talk about the good, the bad, the ugly, and the indifferent. And I can tie it all back to mental health, because what's the one thing that affects our mental health the most?
Life.
Living life. Exactly.
Yeah.
So in saying all that, I want to take us back when big text was little text. When I want to know kind of like what you grew up as. Like, where did you grow up? What was life like when you were a kid growing up? School life, family life, all that stuff. And here's the reason why I asked that question. I tell everybody this, is that before we were civil service, before we wore a uniform, put on a badge, any of all that, we were human beings first. We were kids. We were, growing up just like everybody else, dealing with the tragedies in life and the hard times and the circumstances, just like everybody else. And it just because we put on the badge or wear a uniform doesn't mean we are not those things anymore. We do change. We do change a little bit. Okay. However, the baseline of who we are is still the baseline of who we are. Right. And this allows people to know that, one, the uniform did have an effect on you, but it had no effect on you previously, and you're still a human being now. So Where'd you grow up? We'll start with that.
All right. Well, so before we jump into that life story, I got a quick joke.
Uh-uh.
No. Actually,
No.
No. Sorry. It's not a joke.
No dad jokes.
No,
I swear I will end this podcast right fucking now.
I admit I said it was a joke, but no, it wasn't a joke. It's a dream that I had. I had a dream last night. Fucking weird as shit. All right.
Okay.
I was swimming in orange soda.
Okay.
Then I realized it was a fantasy.
Mother. You are so lucky that I didn't just end this fucking podcast right now. I hate dad jokes. I really do. I hate dad jokes. I hate them.
Oh, man.
I had a dream last night. I was swimming in orange soda. Then I realized it was a fantasy. Really? Really? Bianca is laughing her ass off right now. She's muted and I can hear her laughing her ass off right now. Oh my God. She's still laughing. She's still laughing. Careful, you might shit yourself if you continue laughing that hard.
So when does a joke become a dad joke?
Stop it. Stop.
All right. Okay, so
Jesus, like
we're gonna go back.
You couldn't have waited till the end for this shit? Like, come on, man.
All right.
Really? Oh, God. All right. Now I just want to let you know now for the remainder of the episode, for the remainder of us recording this, I'm going to give you shit at every little fucking thing you say.
I don't care.
I know you don't. But I know I can make you feel uncomfortable because I've done it before.
So, all right, we're going to take everybody back to Thursday, June 2nd, 1988. It was Northeast Methodist in Live Oak, Texas, actually just right down the road from where Stephanie's. Actually, yeah, right down the road from where I'm at right now. That's where I was born at. And it was a private adoption. I have no idea who my biological parents are. I just know of them from what my parents, they've raised me. So yeah, they're my parents. I just know of from what they told me, of my biological mom. Grew up in Seguin, which is about, depending on where you go in San Antonio, anywhere between 30 minutes to an hour from, San Antonio.
I didn't know you were adopted.
Yeah.
Explains a lot.
And nobody believed.
Kidding. Yeah. Kidding. I'm sorry. Again,
no, actually, it probably does. Who knows?
Full disclosure, my mother was adopted from Canada, so I can make those jokes. Those jokes. So,
yeah, nobody believes that I'm adopted because me and my mom look exactly alike.
That's actually not uncommon, believe it or not. Okay, let me rephrase. I don't know if there's studies, but I have read things about how children, when they are adopted, like as newborns or very, very early on, before like a year old, when they grow up, they actually start taking on the traits of their adoptive parents. Not just emotional traits and like how they act, but the actual physical traits of their adoptive parents. I actually dated a girl in high school who was adopted, and I didn't know she was adopted. And when I went to her house and everything, I saw her mom and her dad, and she had the same exact eyes as her dad, like the blue eyes, everything. I was like, wow, I see where you get your eyes from. And she looked at me and she goes, I'm adopted. And I'm like, oh, and it wasn't just the color, like it was the shape and everything. I was like, oh. So it's a really weird phenomenon that happens. There's no explanation for it, but there's this phenomenon where the adoptive child will actually start developing physical traits of their adoptive parents. It's weird. Yeah. There's a whole bunch of theories on it and stuff. But it's actually a pretty cool thing. It's something I read. I only read it because my mother was adopted, and, trying to figure out what adoption was and is and stuff like that. It's pretty neat. I think it'd be a cool little social experiment to see how many adoptive children that happens to.
See, okay, so not only do me and my mom look alike, here's a mind-blowing thing. So we did, when was it? Back in 2017. Yeah. We did that ancestry DNA test thing to see, like, what our heritage is. And our background is like damn near identical.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That is a little crazy.
But, totally fucking different, bloodline.
Well, a lot of people from different cultures have similar attributes.
Well, yeah.
Like noses, eyes, chins, mouths, heads. I hope she didn't have a beard like you did. That'd be weird.
No.
All right, so you're an adopted kid, and you ended up growing up as an adoptive child. What was that like for you? When did you figure out you were adopted? Was it always known to you, or?
So I was in middle school when my parents told me. It was like 7th or 8th grade when they told me. And when they told me, I didn't believe them. I'm like, shut up. No, I'm not. I mean, I did think it was a little weird or a little strange that my dad was way older than my mom. But I was just like, whatever. I think, let's see, the age difference between my mom and dad was 24 years.
Holy hell.
Yeah.
I thought I was older than my girlfriend. Jesus.
Yeah. He really freaking started over when they adopted me.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, he was like, I think 50 something probably.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, I would never do that. I would never do that. Absolutely no. Never fucking. Good on him. And I appreciate the man he raised, but yeah, no.
Hey, you know what? You know what? Talk about starting over. Did you hear about Brett and Crystal?
Brett and Crystal.
Magic Hands and Naps and Tacos.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're gonna be starting over.
Jesus Christ. Keep it in your goddamn pants, people. Jesus.
So so they told me, they're like, we adopted you, I was like, huh. I mean, I wasn't like upset about it or anything. It was just like, okay, and I just went about whatever I was doing. Actually, once I found out, I called my buddy. Shit, he might as well be my brother. We've known each other since we were like 2 years old. I called him, told him, and what does he have to tell me? Yeah, I know. What the fuck? He's like, my parents, when your parents told my parents, they told me, and I had to swear to them I wouldn't tell you. I was like, damn. And then I called my other buddy, who we started running around together since like 5th grade, something like that. And he had the same fucking thing to tell me too, that he knew as well.
Oh, so your parents were telling everybody else except you.
Yeah. So it was like a reverse coming out of the closet.
For a Navy guy to say that out loud. Anyway.
No homo.
No, man, that's an interesting story. Did you have any siblings growing up?
I mean, I have two older half brothers. From my dad, he was yeah, my dad. So my mom was my dad's second marriage. He was married prior to her, had two sons, got a vasectomy, then they divorced, married my mom. She wanted the kids, so they adopted.
How many kids did they adopt?
Just me.
Oh, okay. So not kids, just kid.
Well, I mean, she wanted to have kids.
Oh, okay. Okay.
A kid.
She wanted to have a kid, and they wound up with you.
Yeah, she wanted to have a kid, or she wanted to have kids.
Mm-hmm.
But so yeah, they went the adoption route, which you know, there was a while where I was like kind of interested in wanting to find my biological mom, because when you sit down at a doctor and it's like, you know, all right, what's your family medical history? And they look at you, and the only thing you can do is just shrug your shoulders because you're completely in the dark.
Yeah. Even for children of adopted, like my mom, they're like, what's the family medical history like? And I was like, well, I can only tell you my dad's side.
Yeah.
It's the only side I can tell you, because my mom was adopted. So I have no idea, no clue. So if there was any mental health stuff wrong or diabetes or anything, I have no clue. None whatsoever. So I can't blame my mental health issues on genetics, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Because that would be a lot easier explanation.
Right. I mean, so, I'm and even to this day, I wonder with that, you know, like, is my battle with mental health, is it genetics, or, you know, is it just because of the shit that I've gone through in life?
It could be both. It can absolutely be both. It can absolutely be both. And it can just be the shit you've gone through in life. It can be one or the other, or it can be both. The thing about mental health is that there is no one true way to know exactly how your brain's going to be. You know, everybody's brain develops completely differently. So
yeah, that's the question that has the $1 million answer.
Yeah. And as of right now, it's all theory. So,
yeah.
And I'm sure we'll get there at some point, figure it all out. And until they do, until they can fix the whole chemical imbalance that is depression, it is going to be what it is.
Right.
Growing up and before you found out that you were adopted, what kind of kid were you? I mean, it seems like you basically grew up as kind of like the only child. I mean, your father's 24 years older than your mother. So I'm assuming your older half siblings are probably already out of the house by then, or close to being out of the house. And
they're way out of the house.
So here comes this new baby, and I'm sure your siblings, you probably don't have that close of a relationship with your siblings, unless I'm completely wrong.
Yeah, no.
No, and it makes sense.
You're in the ballpark.
Yeah, it makes sense because, you know, at the very least, a 24-year difference would mean, like, how am I going to ever have anything in common with somebody that's 24 years older than I am as a child?
Yeah.
And vice versa. How is a 24-year-old going to have anything to, you know, like, what are you going to do? So you basically grow up as an only child, I'm assuming.
Yep.
What was that like for you?
So for the first 7 years of my life, you know, we grew, you know, we lived in like a little subdivision, and, you know, typical childhood, you know, played out in the streets with the neighborhood kids, you know, ran around with them, you know, coming home with scrapes, bruises, dirt everywhere, you know, that kind of thing. Actually, a little funny backstory with that. When I was a toddler, you know, playing around out in the backyard, my mom, on 2 separate occasions, caught me one time drinking out of the cat's water bowl, and then caught me drinking out of the bird bath. Yeah, drinking the water out of the bird bath. And she realized at that point it was probably safe to stop sterilizing my bottles.
So many jokes. Go ahead. Ugh.
So, but I mean, yeah, so first 7 years of my life, typical childhood, run around with neighborhood kids. And then after, from 7 till about 16, 17. Yeah. So about 12, no. So 10 years. That's what I call where I grew up at. I mean, yeah, it was all still in it was all still in Seguin, but we moved from the city out to 140 acres, like 20 minutes outside of town, outside of Seguin. So that's where I grew up. From 7 till 17, that's where all my memories are really at.
What kind of lifestyle was it for you as a child growing up on that much acreage and everything? Did you guys have like a farm? Was it lifestyle?
So we had 29 cattle, 28 cows and bulls, so 29 total. We had four-wheelers. I was 7 years old riding a four-wheeler. I couldn't even reach the foot pedals. Like I'd have to get off, reach the foot, like shift it, grab it with my hands to shift it up into gear. Cause the four-wheelers had centrifugal clutches. And so, I'd get going, stop, shift it up into gear, get back on, go again.
What was your job like? So here you are, 7, 8, 9 years old, young kid, all this land, four-wheeler, but you're by yourself, right?
Well, I mean, probably up until I was about 10, they would let me go off by myself on the four-wheeler. So whenever I wanted to go ride, it was either my mom or my dad would either ride on the four-wheeler with me, or they would go on another four-wheeler with me.
Mm-hmm.
So
I didn't grow up as an only child, right? And so as far back as I can remember, I always had a sibling. My first sibling was born 2 years after I was. So I don't really remember a time when I didn't have a sibling. So when I talk to people that are basically only children or grew up as only children, I'm curious, like what was that lifestyle like for them? Like what was the relationship with the parents like? What was friendships like? I'm sure you had a lot of time by yourself.
Oh yeah, I did. So like I think I was probably maybe 11 years old whenever my parents would let me stay at the house by myself.
Mm-hmm.
But they would give me my mom would leave me a list of chores to do, and I would do them and shit. But I mean, I would just either play video games, watch TV, or just fucking ride around out on the property on the four-wheeler. Like I was outside a lot.
I could imagine. So I guess my question would be like, knowing that you're alone a lot of the time, do you think that affected you at all, not having somebody else there, or like a friend or a brother or anything like that? Because human beings are social animals. We're social animals. No. So growing up as a child with a whole lot of, except for school, I'm assuming, not having a whole lot of that social experience, especially during the free time, during the downtime, when you're not at school, when you're not having to do something. For me personally, knowing the background I had and the siblings and stuff, that would make, I would have been, as a kid, I would have gone insane.
Right. I would have my friends over, outside of school, stay the night, or, they would come over and hang out for a little bit, for a couple hours or whatever. Typical fucking childhood shit. Like I said, my buddy that I've known since we were 2 years old, his parents, when we had this property, they lived probably 15 minutes down the road from us. So
it was easy for you to have at least a friend there to hang out with from time to time. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What was the school life like for you? What kind of kid were you in school?
I was friends with everybody. Grades, I was AB honor roll up until high school, and my mom will be the one to tell you that once I got into high school and caught the whiff of perfume and gasoline, that's when my grades just kind of tanked.
Perfume and gasoline. I like that saying. Yeah, you're not the only guy that's probably happened to, by the way.
Right? Yeah.
Especially a young dude. Our hormones are starting to kick in, and
Right.
yeah, we start noticing things about girls that we always noticed but never really cared
and
about.
Also, in my defense, I got senioritis way too fucking early. I got senioritis 4 years early.
Really, you're just done with school.
Well, I mean, okay. So, like my freshman, sophomore, junior year, they was kind of like D's, C's, a couple of B's. And then senior year, it was like maybe a month and a half away from graduation. I'm in my counselor's office she has like a stack of paperwork like that. She's like, you need to get this done if you want to walk the stage on time. And by God, I got all that shit done.
Yeah, I want out. Like
I was fed up with fucking. I was done with school.
You're done. What were your plans for? Like, what were you planning to do after school? You're done with high school. It doesn't sound like college was high on the list.
Well, all right. So the original game plan was take 6 months off. Just give myself just that mental break from school, and then
a mental break from not giving shit about school to 6 months of more of not giving a shit about school. Got it.
Well, it wasn't going to be college. So there was here in San Antonio, there's a community college that has a fire course, like a firefighter's course,
a certification program.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, I was going to sign up for that course or for the program in the spring semester.
Okay.
Because my senior year in high school, I was a volunteer firefighter.
Oh, okay. Okay. What made you want to be a volunteer firefighter?
One of my buddies, he was a volunteer firefighter. He was like, hey, why don't you come out to one of our meetings one time? Just check it out. And I'm like, okay, all right. And the meeting that I went to, they were actually setting up, or they were getting stuff ready for some kind of little fundraiser that they were going to do to help out with the department. So, like one of the guys that was on the department, he was a Navy vet. So, me and him, we got started talking, and I just kept showing up to meetings after that.
And they recruited you. And how long were you a volunteer for?
So my senior year, I was 17.
Mm-hmm.
I turned 18 after I graduated. So any of the calls that we had, I really couldn't do much because I wasn't 18. So I was just more of like a hand, kind of.
Yeah, you're a gopher. Yeah.
Yeah.
We call it gopher on the fire.
Yeah.
Go for this, go for that.
Right.
Yeah.
That was me.
How long did you stay in after high school?
Let's see. During my 6-month break is when I got a call from a Navy recruiter. Like, hey, this is Petty Officer so-and-so with the United States Navy. Have you ever had thoughts about joining the military? And I had a family friend who was also in the Navy. He was a quartermaster, which they're the ones in charge of plotting the ship's navigational course and everything. And he was telling me that everybody on the ship is firefighter qualified, regardless of what your job is, regardless of what your job is, specifically for the Navy. Once you get to a ship, you're firefighter qualified. Like everybody has to.
Yeah.
And then also on the medical side in the Navy, the hospital corpsmen, they are the most highly decorated out of all the branches, because they are the ones that go boots on the ground with the Marines. Not only are they the medics for us, but they're the medics for the Marines, because Army has their own medics and Air Force has their own medics.
Right.
Marines.
Well, the Marines are a subsect of the Navy. For everybody that's not too familiar with how that works, there's a reason why they're called Marines, because they're mariners. They are on the ships. The Navy,
they're naval infantry,
right? And that's
because
what Marines.
Because Marines stands for my ass really is Navy equipment.
I didn't say it. I didn't say it. I didn't say it.
There's no getting around it, because I mean, even looking at the Marines emblem at the top, it says Department of the Navy. And I know the whole fucking banter. Yeah, we're the men's department, but you know what? If it weren't for our CBs, y'all's camps over in the sandbox wouldn't be shit.
Again, I didn't say it. But anyway, you're gonna get so much shit from so many Marines. I can't wait.
Oh, I know. Bring it on, crayon eaters.
Crayon eaters. Well, at least they're not soggy biscuit eaters. Anyway, that was a bad joke. So you're volunteering, and you graduate from high school. You continue volunteering for that 6-month break you're trying to give yourself, but you get a call from a naval recruiter, and he hook, line, and sinks you with the idea of being a firefighter on a naval ship. Everybody has to know how to fight fire on a ship, because, well, you can't just have a dedicated fire department on a naval ship, because naval ships are huge. They are compact, and it might take, even if they're all on the same ship, it might take a little bit too long for just one specialized training fire department on a naval ship to start doing something about it. So everybody is trained in firefighting on shipping vessels. This is something that I know.
To give everybody an idea, Google the story about the fire that happened on the USS Bonhomme Richard.
And that was the reason why they started training everybody as firefighters.
Well, I mean, that just recently happened.
Oh, okay. Then that's not the reason why. What do you know the history as to when and why they started training everybody as firefighters on naval ships?
Oh, that I have no idea.
Awesome. So we're going to go ahead and just blow past that question. So you get a call from a naval recruiter, and he catches your interest.
Yeah. So, I told him, I was like, I'm right now, I'm taking a break from high school, and eventually is wanting to go through a program to be a firefighter and a paramedic and EMT. And he was like, oh man, he's like, the Navy has awesome jobs for that. We've got hospital corpsmen, that are like field medics, and talk about firefighting and all that stuff. And I'm like, awesome, all right, cool. So yeah, signed my name on the line for Uncle Sam. Go down to the military entrance program, MEPS, down at Fort Sam, Houston, in San Antonio. Go through the whole process there, and sit down and like, okay, we can ship you. Let's see, this was August when everything went down. They're like, okay, we can ship you out to boot camp in September next month. I'm like, whoa, hold up a second there. I got a big hunting trip coming up in October no, seriously. Like so for all 12 years that I was in school, every year, every October, my dad went elk hunting in Colorado. He always went elk hunting in Colorado. I always wanted to go with him, and he never took me because he would be out. He would be gone for a week. And so he wouldn't take me out of school for a week. I'm like, fuck. So the one chance I'm able to fucking go, hell no, I'm not going to miss it. So, I'm like, I got an elk hunting trip coming up in October. My dad has gone every year when I'm in, and he would never sign me out of school. I'm going, I'm not missing that trip. And he was like, hey, I totally get that. And so he's like, looking, he's like, our next group going to boot camps in February. I said, all right, I'm fine with that.
So he actually allowed you to bypass the first initial boot camp entrance.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess
So,
not all recruiters are assholes.
so technically, I did my oath of enlistment twice.
Really?
I did it in August, and I was in the delayed entry program for 9 months. Or no, I was in delayed entry program from August, and then February 20th, 2007, 9 months after I graduated, 6 days before my mom's birthday, back down at MEPS at Fort Sam Houston, going through the whole process again, do my oath of enlistment, say my goodbyes, load up in the van, and head off to the airport.
You know, it's weird hearing your story because you didn't grow up thinking you were going to go into the military. It took a recruiter reaching out.
Yeah,
Like,
going in the military was not in the cards. It was a total, and that's how I am. I am a spontaneous, like spur of the moment. Like, hey, that sounds like a pretty good idea. Let's do it.
and then you'll regret the decision later.
Yeah, that first night when I was laying in my rack there at boot camp, I'm like, what the fuck did I get myself into?
Mm-hmm.
But I endured it.
Going through that process, obviously you recognize that, you know, your plan to become a firefighter has obviously changed, right? You're now in the military. And I guess my question to you is like, how did that hit you? How did that affect you with the whole, okay, this is a little bit different than what I was expecting? How did you handle that? How did you plan on handling that?
So as far as like being in boot camp, really, it was just a fucking, take it day by day, because you really don't know what the next, like, you do kind of know what is in store for the next day, but you really don't at the same time.
Mhm.
Like, yeah, all right, yeah, we already know we're going to get up at 6 and we got to be fucking on the line in front of our racks, at least by fucking 6:05. And then, we're going to go to breakfast, but then after breakfast, we don't know. Yeah.
During that point into it did sound, you're like, what the fuck am I doing? Did you even have the inkling of regret of changing your plans?
No,
No.
not
Even
one
though
bit.
even though you're asking yourself, what the fuck did I get myself into?
Not one bit.
Okay.
Because it was also really, I mean, so me joining the military was, yeah, spontaneous, but it's still the whole 9/11 attacks.
Got
And
it.
The war is still going on over there.
Right. You go through your boot camp process, you make it out. What was your MOS, if you don't mind me asking?
So I was supposed to be a hospital corpsman. Get out of boot camp and literally there was a train tracks that split the base where boot camp is and what we all call main side base. And that's where the hospital corps school was, and like a couple other schools for other rates in the Navy, where you get further training for your job in the Navy. And so I went to school there. I want to say I probably got about halfway through the tests. I had 3 test failures, and it was basically like 3 strikes and you're out. So I failed 3 tests, and they kicked me out to the fleet, what everybody calls the big Navy. Went out to San Diego as an undesignated seaman. Cue the banter there.
Not even gonna say anything too easy of a joke. Got it.
But what an undesignated seaman is they're pretty much a deckhand. We do like all the grunt work on the ship, along with the bosun's mate. Do like really a lot of preservation work, just keeping all the rust, trying to keep it at contained and to prevent any more. And we stand lookouts on the ship while we're out at sea. We steer the ship. So yeah, we're pretty much the backbone of the ship, besides the guys down in the engine room controlling the speeds and everything else.
Now, was that your designated job the entire time you were enlisted?
Yes.
Okay, so you're an undesignated seaman. Basically, your job was to maintain the ship.
Yeah.
Very simple.
Yeah, very simple.
How long, or during your time in, were you ever deployed anywhere other than stateside, like San Diego or something like that?
So did 2 7-month deployments over to the Persian Gulf. First one was 2007, 2008. Let's see. Yeah. So I went to boot camp in February of 2007. And then that following November, went on my first deployment and came back in June. Actually came back the day before my birthday.
You did about 6-7 months.
Yeah, 6-7 months
on a naval ship, and then you went on a second deployment. Now, were these war effort deployments, or what kind of deployments were these?
So it was kind of a support deployment in a sense. Mm-hmm. So the type of ship I was on, it's a amphibious transport dock. It's been decommissioned since September of 2012. Yeah, September 2012. The USS Cleveland LPD-7. So like I said, it was an amphibious transport dock. We had a well deck. We transported Marines and all of their equipment. And so we had a Marine expeditionary unit out of Camp Pendleton that was attached to the ship. And so both deployments, we took them up when we went over to the Persian Gulf. We offloaded them in Kuwait. Let's see, first deployment, I think they were in Kuwait for about a month doing some kind of exercise, whatever, playing in that giant sandbox. Second deployment, they were there for a month and a half. Yeah.
All right. Did you happen to see any theater? Or partake in any theater?
So on my second deployment, once we hit the Fifth Fleet area, which is like right at the tip of India, we manned our gun mounts. And so on the ship, we had 1, 2, 3, 4. We had 4 50 cal machine guns. We had 2 25 millimeter guns, and we had 2 240 Bravos. And every one of those mounts were manned, and even in the Gulf. There was one, so second deployment, me and my gun captain, we were on the forward starboard gun mount. Yeah. And we had 2 Somalian fishing dhows, like fishing boats, kind of heading towards us. Well, one stopped. Good. Hell, it could have probably been a mile, but the ship being way up here and the water line being down here, perception is way different. So where he stopped probably looked about maybe 50 yards from the ship. Mm-hmm. But the other one just kept trucking. And like, I'm waiting. Like, I already have my hand on the charging handle. I'm just waiting to cock back and unload. And he finally stopped. And I swear it looked like he was maybe 30 yards from the ship when he stopped. Turned broadside to us, and then went down to the ass end of our ship and then passed behind us.
It's a little bit of a I wouldn't say scary moment, but a little bit of a exciting moment.
Yeah.
Exciting moment.
But other than that, no, not really.
Nah, not really. Nothing too major.
No.
Do you think? And it's an interesting question that I'm going to ask because I don't have a whole lot of. I do have Navy guys that I talk to. My father was Navy. He just retired as a senior chief a few years ago, and my stepmother she retired from Naval Reserves. My mother was in the Navy. That's how my mother and my father met. And my father's Marines and everything else. But I've noticed that barring the Gulf War, like my father, he saw some stuff in the Gulf War, having to pick up bodies out of the water and certain things like that. But barring anything like that, it's not too often that you meet naval veterans or naval seamen that have seen active theater where they're fighting back or, they're actually having to do some type of, combat out on sea. It's very rare that you hear about that. You hear a lot about the pirates and stuff, and you hear a lot about the Coast Guard or the Coast Guard, having to do stuff like that sometimes. And certain aspects of the Navy that will go out there and get these pirates and these drug traffickers and everything, out of the water and stuff like that. But it's interesting because compared to Marines and Army, and even a little bit of the Air Force, it seems like the Navy actually sees the least amount of fighting during wartime efforts. Am I off on that?
No, you're not. You're not off on that. Because so both deployments after we offloaded the Marines in Kuwait, while we were floating around out in the Gulf waiting on them, we were also partaking in piracy operations. So that's what it's. So it was like a support deployment.
Okay.
Kind of.
And you were helping Kuwait with the whole piracy stuff, or?
Well,
I'm ignorant to all this, so
I don't know what it was that what the Marines were. I think the Marines were working with the Kuwait military, like training with them, and so everybody knows that Somalian pirates are a bad issue in the Gulf, and so we're hey, we're here. Let's just go handle and take care of what we can.
Okay, it's. Again, I'm asking these questions because I'm completely ignorant of how naval operations work. It's easy to find out how Marine operations and Army operations work because they're fucking blasted all over media, social media or news media, it doesn't matter. You always hear about the missions that, Army, Navy, SEALs, all these, and now Naval SEALs are a little bit different faction of the naval aspect of our military, but Marines, it's easy to find out what's going on, what happened, especially after the mission and everything else, but you don't hear a whole lot of naval ships unless there's some type of threat that these naval ships are creating a line, right? But not very often are any shots fired or anything like that. And so it's interesting to talk to a naval veteran because it's like, okay, now, you don't have to see wartime efforts or wartime action for being in the military, and being out to sea at 7 to 8 months at a time on a ship, very rarely getting to put your feet on dirt. They're constantly on metal. Like that can affect the human psyche. And I could only imagine being cooped up in a can, because I have been on naval ships before. Remember, my father was in the Navy, so he would take us on the ship sometimes, especially when they were in Port San Diego or in Corpus Christi, and he would take us on the ship sometimes and show us around the ship and everything. And geez, even as a small child, I was like, dang, this thing is cramped, right? Like the bunks, you guys literally sleeping on top of each other, and the yeah, no homo. And the lockers and all that other stuff. I was like, how the hell can you live like this for, up to 9 months, a year at a time? That would that would drive me insane. Not to mention, if you're in a relationship, you're stuck around these smelly ass guys fucking for months at a time.
That's another thing too. The ship I was on was like the second to last all male ship in the Navy. Like every other ship was co-ed. I mean, granted, we had probably 5 female officers on board.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, that's fraternization.
Right. And there's no fraternization on naval ships. We all know they actually fraternize with each other,
Everybody fraternizes.
especially on an all-male ship. I think by month 3, it's okay. Whose turn is it? Is in the barrel. Anyway,
it ain't gay underway, but it's queer at the pier. Wait, what?
I didn't say it.
No homo.
What was that experience like for you? Like, so again, for me, I would go fucking insane. I would go insane. I'm not saying I couldn't do it, but it would probably make me feel very, I wouldn't say claustrophobic, but like, fuck, seeing the same fucking walls for 7 months, 9 months at a time, man, Jesus.
I mean, let's see. It was, you know, I just took it as work. You know, just being at work.
Being at work. Well, during your reprieve time, it's on the ship.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, still we had like a little lounge area with a TV we could hang out in. We had a gym we could go work out in, you know. So we had stuff, you know, where we can have our downtime for ourselves.
So it didn't really affect you all that much being surrounded by a bunch of dudes staring at the same gray walls.
No, not really.
Oh, okay. Well, you know, I figured I'd ask because again, I'm ignorant.
There'd be a lot of times where, you know, I would go up to, you know, I would go out to the wet, you know, just go out and lean up against the rail and just stare at the sea, just stare out at the sea, because it's just so serene and peaceful out there. Like the fucking sunsets and sunrises. Oh my God.
Bar none, I bet.
Oh man.
Just thinking about it now, I can see you putting a little bit of a smile on your face.
Oh no, baby girl just got home from work.
Oh, that too. But sunrises and sunsets out at sea, I could only imagine what that would look like, especially, you know, clear skies and clear water.
Yeah.
Miles out in front of you I could only imagine what that would be like.
Especially at nighttime when there's not a single cloud in the sky and there's no moonlight, there's no light pollution. You can see every fucking star in the galaxy.
Do you think that helped you? Like being out there from time to time, having that kind of access to those views and really a part of nature that not a lot of us get?
I think that's where, you know, my love and, you know, just being outdoors, that's where it came from.
That makes sense. It makes sense. You know, there's a lot of studies that say being outdoors, you know, being able to see stars, being able to appreciate the earth for what it is and what it has, and respecting the idea of how powerful it is and how vast it is. It puts you in a state of mind that, you know, you're just this small little speck, and there's some peace in that. It's weird. Yeah. It's weird how there's some peace in realizing that you're not all that significant in the grand scheme of things. And that allows you to be the person you want to be, knowing that in the grand scheme of things, we're almost insignificant. We're not insignificant, but we're almost insignificant.
Almost, yeah.
And it's a serene feeling. It's a calming feeling to realize that about yourself when you think about how vast the universe and the earth is. It's a crazy idea. I want to ask, Ro, you do your 2 tours. When and how long did you actually stay an active duty member of the Navy?
I just did my 4-year hitch.
Just did your 4-year hitch?
Yeah.
Did you have plans? Did you have plans after that 4 years to do anything else?
So once I got out, I was still wanting to continue on with the whole, being firefighter and paramedic, and went down to the community college again in San Antonio, and sat down with the counselor, got signed up and everything. But I had to take remedial courses because I'd been out of school for so long.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was taking, all I did was took 2 classes. It was, I think, like a reading and a writing class, or a English and a writing class. And that's all I took for the fall semester, was 2 courses. And that just like kind of really turned me off from wanting to do that. I was like, man, fuck this bullshit.
Yeah, it's weird because I didn't have to take any remedial courses. Now, if you're going for your associates in fire science, then yes, you do have to go and have the remedial courses. Now, if you just want your certification, you can just do the certification course. You don't have to do anything remedial.
Huh.
They didn't explain that to you?
No.
They wanted you to get your fire science degree?
Yep.
Yeah, they screwed you.
Well, shit.
Yeah. So, okay. So you're going back. They tell you have to do these courses. It turns you off. Where'd you go from there?
Then I took a dive into corrections. I was working Guadalupe County Juvenile Detention. I did that for probably about 3 months. And then my fiance, who I met in the Navy before I got out, she was still in. She got orders to go to Virginia. So we go out to Virginia. And then out there, I started working security. We were out in Virginia for about 7 months. And then from Virginia, we went to, she got orders to go to Illinois, right back to, everybody calls it Great Mistakes, but it's Great Lakes, Illinois, where the Navy boot camp is, and Naval Station Great Lakes. And there's a VA hospital there. That's where she got orders to. So, but by that time we were already married. So we get up there, back in Great Mistakes, and I'm still working security. So I've been in security for about 3.5 years. Come back to Texas, get back into doing corrections, but I was working on the jail side with the adults. And then me and her split, got a divorce, separated. I quit. I stepped away from corrections. And then I just worked odd and end jobs over the years. But I have 3.5 years background in security, like 2.5, 3 years in corrections. And yeah.
You mind me asking why the divorce came about or how it came about?
So when me and her got married, I was like 22, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Young, dumb, full of cum. Thought I had Mrs. Forever, but just settled for Miss right now. I was unhappy. The only thing good to come out of the marriage was my son.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, I was just unhappy.
I don't know if that's the only thing good that came out of it. Now, don't get me wrong. Probably the most important thing that came out of your marriage. But I believe when we are with somebody and we make that choice to spend whatever time it is that we spend with them, we learn about ourselves and we learn about other people and we learn about our boundaries of who we are willing to accept into our lives later on in life. If we, like, when we start dating again, and everything else, we learn about what we're okay with, what we're not okay with, what we're good with bending on, what we're not good with bending on. I think when relationships happen, whether they end or not, we learn something about ourselves while we're learning about the other individual. So I don't like saying that any one relationship was, oh, it was completely horrible, I was so stupid doing this, and blah blah blah. You know, people beat themselves up a lot of the times when they go through a relationship that doesn't work. The thing is if it didn't work, it didn't work, and that's okay. But it wasn't all bad. There's a reason why you guys got together to begin with. There's a reason why you were happy at one point, and you learned something about yourself going through, starting off that happy puppy love, butterflies in your stomach moment, learning about the individual, and then finding out that you two just don't mesh. You learn something about yourself, and you learn something about an individual, and or behaviors that you're just not going to be okay with in the future. So I never like to say relationships were bad. Now, can some relationships be bad for you? Yes, absolutely. There are toxic relationships out there, and there are people that take advantage of other people that feel like they need a relationship to prove some type of self-worth. The issue that I have with people saying that, and now I'm challenging your thinking. If you believe that your son's the only good thing that came from your relationship, I'm not, that's your belief. But I think, and I tend to challenge people's thinking in that I don't think that's the only good thing. You learn something about yourself. You learn something about her. You got to spend time with her and your partner during good times. There were good times, because if there was all bad times, you would have never gotten married to begin with. You never started the relationship to that point. So there were good times at some point. It's just a matter of perspective. What are you going to be willing to focus on? The negative at the end, which feels like was the whole time. It wasn't, because if it was the whole time, it would have never gotten to the point where it got to. Or you focus on, hey, it didn't work out. We're two different people. Thank you for the good times. Thank you for helping me grow within myself. I hope I helped you grow within yourself. And that's it. Right. So there's different things that we can focus on. And the only reason why I say that is I'm going through my divorce now. Right. And in the throes of it at the beginning, it felt like all it was bad. Right. It felt like it's always been bad. It always was bad, blah, 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 because we feel like the current feeling we're feeling is a absolute. It was always that way. We just weren't aware of it, whatever. No, it wasn't always that way. You did have good times. You did end up having a child together. At some point, your partner wanted to have sex with you. And a lot of people don't have just sex with anybody. They it usually takes feelings and emotions to be tied to that, and trust. So there were good things about any relationship, whether it ends or not, that happened. It's just a matter of perspective on whether or not are we going to allow ourselves to focus on the good parts of the relationship or the bad parts of the relationship that made it not work. I challenge you to focus on the good. It's not easy, especially if the hurt is recent, especially if the other individual is continuously trying to make life hard. It's not easy to think about those good things, but it is possible. And if you can show that appreciation sooner or later, I believe the other person, the former partner, will realize what you're trying to do and hopefully come around to realizing that the relationship was not a for nothing relationship, if that makes sense. Does that kind of make sense? Now, don't get me wrong. It was hard for me to get to that point, especially at the beginning last year. I mean, you saw me, you saw me even just this past October. I was still, man, it was hard for me to be in the present moment. But I changed my perspective on what am I going to want to focus on? Is it working for me to focus on the parts of the relationship that felt like were meant to hurt me, the way she was treating me, all this other stuff? Is it working for me to focus on that? Obviously, you don't want to forget about it because you don't want to be taken advantage of, but there's a reason why the relationship ended, but there was also a reason why the relationship even happened to begin with.
Yeah.
And I want to focus on that part, on the parts that I learned about myself and the growing I did within myself from the relationship. And I thank my former partner for allowing me to be a part of their life for whatever period of time that they allowed me to be a part of their life, and vice versa. You know, so it's difficult for us in the military or civil service realm, because we have this idea of thinking that if there's a problem and we can't solve it, then fucking go to something else, because it's just going to be a problem. And or we try to find out another solution to the problem. And sometimes the solution to that problem is just throwing it away, giving up on it, and moving on to something new, because that is a solution to a problem. And for us in the civil service realm, military, first responders, when relationships start going bad, sometimes the best thing for us to do is just to end it.
Yep.
Right. So
Yeah.
it's, again, perspective. It's a different perspective. It's not an easy one to have. It takes work, takes time, but it is possible. And I think it's a little bit more healthy, and it helps us maintain our sanity a little bit more when it comes to thinking about our past relationships and the things that we went through and the things that we had to deal with from our former partners that we feel like weren't all that fair, to say the least. I don't know. That's my soapbox moment. Well, man, I appreciate you sharing, you know, why you got out of your relationship and everything else. And I guess what I want to get to now is, you know, you said at the beginning of the podcast that you do deal with some PTSD and some depression, and that you do support people that are dealing with that because you deal with it. As a matter of fact, you actually have an ESA, an emotional support animal, for helping you deal with those things. I'm kind of curious, because we haven't really dived into anything that would, for me, just scream, this is where it came from, right? This is where it came from. This is why he deals with these things. So I guess I'm asking you if you wouldn't mind sharing what it was, or you don't have to be specific. I'm not asking you to relive any type of traumatic thing. I'm just asking like a very general explanation of how it came about to where you were battling with these things: PTSD, depression, anxiety.
So I'm still trying to figure out even where it stemmed from. But what really probably put my mental health on the pedestal of getting fixed was back in January of 2018. I was with she's now my second ex-wife, but at the time we were married. I don't know, we were arguing about something, and yeah, just got up. It was like just started the day arguing. It felt like we was arguing probably maybe 20 minutes. I eventually just left the house to go cool off. She texted me saying that she wouldn't be able to. She texted me saying that she thinks she won't be able to ever get that image out of her head. And I asked her, I said, "What are you talking about?" And she told me that during the argument, I went to the closet, grabbed my pistol, put it to my head, got inches away from her face, and said that if I were to pull the trigger right now, she wouldn't have one single fucking care in the world.
You don't remember saying that?
No, don't remember it happening.
Okay.
Like I said, to me, the argument felt like it was 20 minutes, but really, no, she said it was probably about an hour and a half we were arguing.
You know, it's interesting that you had that experience, because there are stories, and I'm one of them, where when the emotions are high and the expectation of the argument. You know, when people argue, there's people tend to want a winner and a loser. We want an agreement or a disagreement from one or the other. Like either you agree with me or you don't. There's both people want their outcome to be the outcome to happen. And when nobody's giving, the anger, the frustration, the stress sometimes builds up so much in our brains, and that chemical release gets going that we start doing things that we aren't even fucking aware of. Right. And you got to be very careful with that, because if that's happening, that means, yes, you do have some type of chemical imbalance because you're not able to stay present during a high stressful situation. And if you're not able to stay present during a high stressful situation, you tend to do things that are out of the norm for you, like putting a gun to your head. Right. I'm venturing to guess that you probably have never done something similar to that beforehand.
No. Mm-mm.
Right. So whatever the argument was, or whatever that, all that stuff, actually, whatever it stemmed from, all that stuff doesn't actually technically matter. What matters is how your brain reacted to the stress of that confrontation. And what happened is sometimes when that stress gets built up in our brains and those chemicals start getting released, and our brain has never had that amount of chemicals in it, those chemicals start going to places of our brains that don't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
Right. And we start acting in ways and start saying things that we never thought we would say, thought we would ever do before. And then once we start calming down, it's like, what just happened? I can't believe I just did that. Or did I just do that? You know, it's this whole, you reflect and you're like, I can't believe I would actually do that. I can't believe that just happened.
Right.
And it's this moment of self-reflection that then you're like, now it's depression start kicking in. Do I really feel that way? And you start questioning yourself, and you start doubting yourself and your ideas and everything else. And you're like, how do I fix this? Because if I've gotten there once, I can get there again.
Yep.
How do I stop that from happening again? I don't want it to happen again. That's when you have to really take a step back and realize, okay, maybe there's something wrong with how my brain processes high levels of stress. And what can I do to fix that? When she told you this story, and were you like in self-denial at first, or were you like believing what she was saying? How did that play out?
When she told me all that, I said, no, we were arguing 20 minutes. And she's like, no, it was at least an hour and a half, or at most an hour and a half. And that, she told me everything. And I'm just sitting there like, this is an hour and a half, like literally an hour and a half of my life I'm never going to get back. I don't fucking remember. Like completely blacked out.
Did you believe her when?
I've blacked out from drinking before, but like over the next couple of days, you can kind of start, remembering what happened from the night.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember shit from that hour and a half, however fucking long it was.
And okay, so I have a couple questions with this. Did you believe her when she said you did what you did?
Yeah, I did.
All right. How did that feel when you start realizing that here's a moment in time that I don't remember and something like this happened? What did that do to you emotionally?
Honestly, it scared the shit out of me. Because what if I did pull that trigger?
Right. It felt like a loss of control.
Pretty much.
It's hard to explain to people sometimes when people that have issues with managing high level stress situations and that rush of those chemicals into your brain. You know, it's hard to explain to people that it wasn't us. Like that wasn't the real me. It was my depression taking over. It was the stress taking over. I have no idea why I would ever do that. I would never actually want to do that. And it wasn't me. I swear it wasn't me. But then of course, somebody being on the receiving end of that, all they see was you, right? They see you doing this thing, saying these things, and in their head, it's, how can you say it wasn't you when I was there? It was you saying those things. It was you doing those things. Like, and you're like, no, but I swear it wasn't. I wasn't in the right state of mind. It's hard for people that don't understand the struggle of having that imbalance and incapability of managing something like that. And it is an incapability. You know, we're guys, we like to think that we can handle our shit and be in high stressful situations and handle our shit just fine. The thing is you have to be able to admit to yourself at some point you were out of control. You did not have control. Your brain did not allow you to stay present.
Right. Yeah, like, I mean, you know, I like it, like how everybody is during high school. You know, when I was in high school, anytime I got mad about something, which, you know, like I said, I'm pretty sure everybody did the same thing. You know, I would like, you know, I'd punch a wall or something. You know, and it was like once I got out of the military, it was like my temper just went like 90-0. For what, like, I would fly off the handle for whatever reason.
And you don't know what started all that?
No idea.
Yeah, it could have been a brain development thing as you were getting older, and you know, some of the stresses that you've been through and stuff like that. It could just be that your brain just started producing more of that chemical when you were in stressful situations, right? And unfortunately, that could be a hereditary thing. Sometimes our brains are exposed to high level stressful situations, and our brain will produce the chemicals to keep it running and trying to comprehend what's going on. And that's where a lot of military veterans with no history of any type of mental health will develop PTSD, because their brains, since they're constantly in this high level stress situation, when they come back, they now are dealing with the development of their brain and what happened to them and what happened to that development and what happened with that constant feed of chemicals, of that fight or flight, of the stressful situation. And so when they get into the civilian world, it wasn't necessarily a, you know, genetic thing, but it was a rewiring of their brain that is now causing them to deal with these things. Sounds like in your case, this might have been more of a genetic thing. Obviously, I'm no mental health expert, but I've done a lot of research on it. And it's possible that as you're getting older, your brain starts producing certain chemicals during high level stressful situations, and more of that chemical than your brain is actually able to allow you to stay in control.
Yeah.
Hi, Stephanie. Welcome to the What Makes Us Fire podcast.
Hi.
So this instance happens with your ex, your second wife at the time. What was the process from that point? Like, what did you do to start mitigating it, if you did anything at all?
So we contacted the VA, which everybody knows the VA is a joke. And that's all it was. It was just constant phone calls after phone calls after phone calls, trying to get an appointment. So fast forward to October the same year, about close to the end of the month. Me and the wife are out going to San Antonio somewhere doing something. We start fighting about something. I fly off the handle again, and she has a pistol in her center console because she's doing, at the time she was doing work as like a at home healthcare where she'd go around doing, and there was some, she did a lot of work in San Antonio, and so there was some neighborhoods where were kind of sketchy. So I told her, I was like, here, keep a pistol just in case. So I knew it was there. I went to go grab for it. She knew what I was doing, beat me to it, took me to the VA hospital, where it was first time I had been detained like ever in my life, and was admitted to the psych ward for 3 days. Got stuck, and so that really got my everything going to get my mental health fixed. Started medication, and it is a total night and day difference now from what I was then. Like, I can tell I am a way different, better person than I was then.
So it took another close call for you to, and it is being detained. You weren't arrested.
Yeah.
And in the state of Texas, we call them 72-hour holds. They're 72-hour holds. So for anybody that threatens suicide or wants to harm themselves, it is mandatory to hold them for 72 hours, evaluate them in a mental health facility. And it's like it's not being locked up because you're technically not charged with anything, but you are there for the 72 hours. The state has responsibility for you for 72 hours. The county, the state, depending on who it was that detained you.
It was the VA police.
Mm-hmm.
Like they have their own little police.
So the military police then. In either case, the idea is the 72 hours allows, one, for you to be evaluated by professionals, two, allows you to reflect, and three, hopefully develop a program or a plan for you to start getting help outside of that facility. And that's normal. It's actually very, very normal. It's not an uncommon thing. It happens all the time. So I don't want you to think that, you're like the only one that's ever happened to, because it's not. It happens all the time.
Yeah.
And, you were lucky because technically in the state of Texas, it's illegal to threaten to kill yourself. You can be charged for it. They don't ever do it. But if it becomes like a constant issue where they're always coming out trying to stop you from doing something, that's when they'll be like, okay, hey, this is an issue. If you don't start fixing this problem, you can be charged with certain type of things. I'm not too familiar with it, so don't quote me on that. I just know that you can be charged with something stemming from constant suicide attempts or constant suicidal ideations where you're calling 911 or having to go to the hospital. You go through this 72-hour hold in a psychiatric facility. It's interesting to talk to you about that, and I have a question about that. Like, what was that like for you? What was that experience like for you?
So she always, threw it out that I needed to go through some kind of, treatment, whatever thing, this and that. And I knew that she was kind of starting to get unhappy with the relationship, with the marriage and everything. And, she loved to watch all them Lifetime movies and all that kind of stuff. And every time she threw it out, I'm like, no, because while I'm there, it's just going to make it easier for you to leave me. Like, I know how you are with your little Lifetime movies. No, not happening.
Right.
So, but when I was sitting there, like, I felt like I was being like, I felt like she abandoned me.
Mm-hmm.
I called her and I'm like, I can't believe you did this. Like, how could you do this? And she's like, I'm doing this for your own good. And once I got out, I realized that, yeah, she was doing it for my own good.
Mm-hmm. What was it
And,
like being in the facility specifically? And remember, this is your personal experience. If you want to talk bad about it, you can talk bad about it. If you had a shitty experience, you had a shitty experience. It's okay.
Yeah, it wasn't a shitty experience. I mean, don't get me wrong. Yeah, there were some interesting characters there, but I just kind of kept to myself.
Mm-hmm.
I really just stayed in the room. I had a crossword puzzle that I worked on, or word search. I suck at crossword. I had a word search.
Do you think
that worked on?
Do you think the therapists and the doctors that came to evaluate you were helpful in any way?
There was one that did come to talk to me, and my wife was present there for it. And this was still like within that first kind of like being admitted. Mm-hmm. So I'm still pissed off about the whole thing, and I'm just flying off the handle at him too. And eventually I got pissed off. I just walked away, went back to the room. But yeah, I do think they did get as far as my evaluation. Yeah, some of it is they did evaluate me right. I feel like I'm not properly evaluated, but for the most part, yeah.
But generally speaking, you'd say it was beneficial, even though it wasn't a choice for you. You didn't choose to go and do this. It was beneficial in the end.
Exactly.
Okay. And your experience is a little bit different than others that I've talked to, because a lot of the people I've talked to have chosen to go get help. So they'll start talking to a therapist or a counselor, or they'll go see a psychiatrist on their own merit, because they find out something's wrong with them, and then they make the choice to go and get that help. For you, it was a situation that arose that somebody who cared about you at the time put you through that. And they put you through that because they did care about you at the time. And when it's not your choice to go, one or two things happen. Either resentment sets in, and it's the only feeling, and that's the only feeling you come out of it with it. There's nothing fucking wrong with me. I'm totally fucking fine. I don't know why you fucking did this. I could fix this on my own. This was completely fucking stupid. And then there's stories like yours where, holy shit, okay, if what I'm doing is leading to this outcome, maybe there is something that I need to start working on.
Right.
Once you got out and you start this process of working on yourself and everything else, what did that look like? What was that plan and outlook like?
So get out, and of course it's always the whole experimental phase of trying to get the medication right, and then the dosage and everything else, feeling like a guinea pig. So that was like I said, about the end of October. About a couple months later, we're fighting about something, and I was just in such a rage that I saw red, like around the outside of my eyes. And next morning, I'm getting ready to take my medicine, and my wife told me, she was like, "You are not taking that one." She's like, "We are going back to the VA. We are talking to them," because everything was fine up until just that one point. And she was like, "Something needs to get switched." And then ever since that switch, things have been fine.
Did the VA, and I'm not trying to bash on the VA at all. I hear horror stories about the VA all the time. A lot of the times, all I hear is all they do is try to drug you up. All they do is try to drug you up. And mental health medication is a good thing. It is a part of becoming better. I don't dog on mental health medication. I take mental health medication, but it is not the end all cure all. It is only a part of the process. It is not the process. But the stories I'm hearing from people that went to the VA is that the VA tends to use mental health medication as the end all be all, the process. If this doesn't work, we'll just pump you full of something else.
Yeah. That's what they love to push is fucking pills.
So did they prescribe you, or did they give you anybody to talk to, like a therapy?
Yeah, I did have a therapist that I met with every month up until about August of 2019, I think, something like that. About a year later, she went out on maternity leave. I had no idea she was pregnant.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I had no idea she was pregnant. And then she went out on maternity leave. And yeah, that was August 2019. And then, I think like like October of last year, we kind of reconnected again just to like touch bases and see how everything's going.
So do you think that maybe more therapy would have helped and not just the drugs? Basically what I'm saying, if you were able to talk about what was going on in your head a little bit more and not just rely on the drugs, would it have helped? Do you believe it would have helped?
Honestly, no, because there was a time where, so exactly a year, not to the date, but to the month. So October 2018 is when I was admitted. October 2019, me and my wife separated.
Mm-hmm.
There was just one day, she was like, I want you out of the house. We're tired of feeling like we have to walk on eggshells around you. I felt like there was no issue or anything, but I'm okay. All right, whatever. So I went off on I just went cold turkey off my medication to see if it was really me or if it was outside factors. And, about 3-4 months goes by, I'm feeling fine. I'm thinking maybe it was her that was causing all my problems. And then I want to say I was probably off of my medication for about a year. And then I started to notice that I was kind of starting to slip downhill. And I said, nope. And that was February. February of last year is when I started to notice I was kind of making that downward slip. I said, no, I got to get back on my medication. And I've been on my medication ever since. I mean, yes, granted, there have been a couple of days or, there's been some weeks where I have missed, but I have managed and maintained myself. But I've been on my medication for the most part since last February.
Did your therapist ever refer or mention like cognitive behavioral therapy? Does that term sound familiar?
I don't even know what the hell that means.
Okay. So yeah, she didn't. She didn't. So the reason why I asked, do you think talking about it and letting her know or your therapist know what was going on in your head, how you were thinking about it, how you were dealing with these thoughts helped you is a lot of therapists they're not just there to listen, they're also there to give advice, right? And to give you ideas and practices that when you start feeling a certain way, you start changing your mindset. When something arises and you notice that you're starting to feel a certain way, you start thinking about something else or doing something else to start rewiring your brain to allow you to stay in the moment and not allow that depression or anger or whatever it is that's causing that mental health change to take over. And those are called cognitive behavioral therapy. So when you start feeling sad, you start, okay, you know what? I'm feeling sad. Let me evaluate why I'm feeling sad. Let me do something that makes me happy. Even though I'm still sad, I do something that I know usually makes me happy. You start associating that feeling and idea with being happy, and it starts actually lessening that sad feeling. When you're angry, you start doing something that calms you down. And even though you're still angry and you're like, I can't believe I'm doing this fucking bullshit, I should be taking care of this fucking problem right now, but you're doing something that calms you down, working on a car, doing a puzzle, whatever the fuck it is. And then what happens is your brain starts rewiring itself. It's like, okay, so the situation rises again. It's not going to affect me as great as it did before. I can start maintaining control of my mental health, my mental state, and how I respond to it. Those are called cognitive behavioral therapies. They're exercises to do when you start realizing you're having certain thoughts or emotions or feelings. Those are great things to have and tools to have with your medication, because your medication medication in itself either suppresses or increases certain brain chemicals to allow you to feel and be available.
Yeah.
Sometimes they suppress too much and you feel like nothing. Sometimes they put too much and you feel like the world's on your shoulders and you don't know what to do. And yes, there is a guinea pig phase to all that. But tying it in with therapy and cognitive behavioral therapies and other type of mental health therapies can develop your brain into a point where you're able to comprehend and stay in the moment, right? And not allow the moment to take over. It's not to suppress the moment. It's not to not give a shit about the moment. It's to allow you to process the moment, allow you to healthily process the moment, allows you to stay in the moment without allowing the moment to take over you. You now can comprehend the moment and manage that moment where you're starting to feel a certain way. But it doesn't work with just meds. It doesn't. There's too many studies that show meds alone will not take care of every issue, because meds alone, like I said before, only suppress and or increase certain brain chemicals to help you deal with the situation, not deal with the situation. They're meant to help you deal with the situation. So there's still more work to be done. Going forward, and knowing now that obviously you do feel different with your mental health medication, and it is helping you, and it is relieving some of that stress and that anxiety or whatever it is that you're feeling when it starts coming up. Do you think, or let me rephrase, would you consider maybe therapy on top of your medication now?
Honestly, what I've been doing lately, aside from my medication, is just removing all the negativity out of my life, and replacing it with positivity. And that's really the biggest thing. And here's an example of that. So a couple months back, went to one Sunday morning, went to church, and the guest pastor that morning was my pastor's brother, and he is the pastor of the church that I go to. The sister church is in Mexico. So he came in one Sunday morning, did a service, and he ended his service with saying that the wrong voices will mess you up, but the right voices will bless you up. And
what did you take that to mean?
That take the negativity out of your life. Don't listen to the negativity. Focus on the positivity. Listen to the ones that are there in your corner lifting you up.
How did you go about doing that process of trying to cut out as much of the negativity and replace it with positivity? What was that process for you?
Really, it's just I'm not going to make you fight for a spot in my life. If you want to be in my life, you're going to it's how much you put into it. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's probably a bad way of looking at it, but that's just how I am.
So for you, a lot of what I'm hearing for you, a lot of your stressors came from the people in your life and the relationships in your life. It sounds like a lot of this stemmed from relationships too, right? You had fights with your previous spouses, which led to you even finding out that you did have a mental health issue. And so now, if you ever find somebody that challenges you or starts putting you into that kind of headspace, you're just like bye, see you later. I don't need this in my life. I'm going to concentrate on something that's not going to put me there. If you had nobody in your life, what does that process look like of putting positivity into your life?
Going out and looking for it.
What if I challenged you to actually deal with the negativity and not replacing it with just positivity?
I'll deal with it, and if it's put me in, if it's like me doing all the freaking work and they're not putting in any kind of effort,
again, you're going into having somebody else there. Do you catch what I'm trying to say here? It sounds like you're using your state of mind, your positive thinking with other people. And here's it's not right or wrong, but what I've noticed is when we do that, there's a couple of things. One, people are fleeting. They're human. They're going to make mistakes. They will piss you off at one point or another, because not everybody's going to think exactly like you. Now, if you met your doppelganger or your clone, they're going to be your best buddy in the world because they know when and to shut up. They know what to say and everything else. Here's the thing. Unless you're willing to fall in love with that clone of yourself, it's never going to happen.
right?
People are fleeting. They make mistakes. We're human beings. If you try to put your happiness and your positivity in things, well, things get old. They break. You have to replace them. You have to repair them. They become a headache. So when I say I challenge you on not necessarily always looking for a positive to replace the negative, but allowing yourself to process the negative and get through the negative without anybody else but yourself, I think that you'll find that constantly looking to have a positive to replace a negative won't be such an issue anymore. You'll allow people to be you'll allow people to be mistakes or have mistakes. You'll allow things to break and it doesn't bother you. That's why my question to you is, if you had nobody, no person or thing, and it was just you, and you started having negative ideas and thoughts, how would you replace that with positivity for yourself?
I would write down all those negative thoughts and burn them all.
Have you done that before?
Yeah.
Did it help?
Yeah.
Well, that's a good start. That's a damn good start. And when you write stuff down that's in your head that's bothering you, or things that you feel like are just insurmountable and they're beating you down, and you can write them out and read them out loud or whatever the case may be, that's a form of allowing yourself to give the hard times validation. And a lot of the times when we go through stressful situations, what we tend to do is we want to forget about them. We just don't want them there. We're tired of dealing with them. And we just want things to be easy. So instead of dealing with it, we look for an out. You look for somebody that just brings positivity and just get rid of the negativity, right? And not that that's wrong per se, but I don't think it actually tackles the main issue. The main issue is yourself. It's not everybody else. And once we start realizing that, and we can start tackling that issue, that's when you're going to find that no matter who comes into your life, good, bad, or indifferent, you will be able to be like, you know what, this relationship's not working out, or this friendship's not working out. But you know what? Thank you for teaching me this about myself. Thank you for growing with me. Go your separate ways. Have no animosity. It just is what it is. I'm doing it for me.
Yeah.
When you can start doing that for yourself and yourself only and yourself first, I think that's where true peace comes from. Not happiness, not positivity, not negativity, but peace. And I hear this all the time of people constantly just positivity. And that's all well and good. But there is such a thing. And you know what they say, too much of a good thing can be a bad thing.
Yeah.
There is a theory out there that's called toxic positivity. And my understanding of it, and from what I've read, is when we continuously try to push down our negative thoughts and emotions and feelings with positive and not allowing ourselves to work through and deal with those negative, that's when the positivity can become toxic, because now you're not actually taking care of the issue, the underlying issue, the problem. All you're doing is just pushing it off to the side. You're not getting rid of it. You're not eliminating it. You're just pushing it off to the side for a temporary fix, so to speak. I'm feeling this way. I'm having these negative thoughts, emotions, feelings, etc. I'm going to go find this fix real quick so I can feel good. But then all of a sudden, we're back to feeling this really shitty way and stuff. And so now we're going back to trying to find something else that's positive.
Yeah.
Instead of, you know what, I'm tired of this thing constantly popping up in my life, this feeling, this emotion, this idea. Something happens and I'm falling back on these feelings. Why is that happening? I have all these good things in my life, but I keep falling back to this feeling. Well, it's because you constantly try to replace that negative with positive instead of actually working through and dealing with the negative. And to do that, it takes therapy, talking to it about it with somebody else, talking about it with yourself, being open and honest with yourself. That's the hardest part. I mean, you've heard my podcast before. There's 3 conversations that you need to have. The first one's with yourself. And that's one of the, to me, that's the hardest conversation I had to have, was admitting to myself that the way I was living life for myself was not the most beneficial way of living life for myself, because nobody wants to admit that they don't have a handle on their shit.
Yep.
Everybody wants to think that I know my life better than anybody else and I can take care of me. I don't, and okay, can you though? Can you really? Are you really? And are you doing it in the most healthiest way possible? Or are you constantly trying to replace it? Are you constantly trying to find something else? Are you constantly changing your Band-Aids? Because that's what those are. They're Band-Aids.
Yeah.
You're not actually healing what needs to be healed. You're just covering it up and keeping it getting too much more infected, but it's never actually healing. Right? So I'm challenging you to think about possibly looking into a therapist where they can start giving you a different perspective. And it would be up to you to take on those challenges from your therapist. That's the thing about mental health, is if we want to change and we want to get rid of the negative and we want to just be at peace, people can give us a million different ways to do it.
Oh, yeah.
Some good, some bad, some that make total sense. Others that are like, what the fuck are you talking about? But it's up to us to make the choice to try. Try the ones that make the sense. Try the ones that don't make sense. You never know. If these are things that you've never done before and you've never committed yourself to doing before, how do you really know it's not going to help?
Right.
Right. I don't know, man. I appreciate you sharing your perspective on it. And thank you for letting me get on my soapbox about all this stuff. And the reason you've heard me before, I talk about this a lot because of what I've recently gone through and what I've learned and what I have been through. And for me, it was learning that how I was living my life as right as I thought it was for me was not beneficial for me. Because I was constantly living in a state of depression and anxiety and PTSD that I allowed it to take over, thinking that I had a handle on it, thinking that it didn't affect me as bad as everybody else is saying. They're fucking wrong. I know me better. And then all of a sudden things built up and I had an episode that I never thought I would have ever had. So it took me going through all that stuff. I really do hope you take the time to sit and evaluate and think about possibly looking for a therapist or talking to somebody outside of it. I'm not saying what you're doing is wrong. You're saying you're feeling a lot better. And as long as you're healthy, that's great. But I would love to see you not just do better. I would love to see you at your best. If that makes sense.
Well, it does.
So I mean, I know you're a good dude. I know you have a great fucking heart. I know that what you share and what you say you mean. Like, I know those things. But do you know those things for yourself? 100%. Do you know that you can be with nobody and still be happy with who you are? Like, my question to you, hey, Stephanie's sitting right there. Would you be okay tomorrow with your happiness if, God forbid, the relationship were to end tomorrow? Would you still be happy with who you are?
Yeah. I
And
mean, heaven forbid that the relationship ended tomorrow. Yeah, it would suck, but with where I'm at in life, yeah, I would still be happy.
You would still be happy. You'd still be at peace.
Yeah.
She doesn't feel like a need at all.
Actually, scratch that. Actually, no. Now that you mentioned peace, yeah. So the church that I started going to church last May. So I want to say it was the second service that I went to. Preacher quoted scripture. It was, foxes have holes, birds of the air have nests, but the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head, which makes sense. Like, that's the reason why I say I'll sleep when I'm dead. My time here, I rest, because I really have no refuge. Since me and Stephanie have been together, there have been times where I've have felt the weight on my shoulder, or the weight of the world on my shoulder, like just crushing. Like, just everything, every little thing is irritating me, annoying me. I'm just pissed off at every little fucking thing. And there's been times where Stephanie's at work. I came over to the apartment. The second that I walked through the door, everything's gone.
And that's good. That's a good thing.
Yeah, it is. It is.
But would you be willing to admit to yourself that it's just a Band-Aid?
Honestly, no.
Okay. And I'm, again, not right or wrong, but my opinion is that that's just a Band-Aid. I believe that you can get to a point where you don't need to just walk into her apartment to feel better. I believe you can get to a point where you don't need her to be able to deal with what's going on. I believe that you can get to a point where Stephanie becomes the choice and not the need. In my opinion, when you tell somebody you need them, you're putting a lot of pressure on somebody to constantly be that person that when you walk through the door, you feel better. Unfortunately, human beings will upset us sometimes, whether you're in a relationship with them or not. If you can get to a point where you are okay with you and you can find that peace within yourself, she becomes the choice. Which means when you start feeling that way, weight on your shoulders, stressed the fuck out, but you can get through it on your own. What she brings to the table is just an added plus.
I don't think I could ever get that with myself, because I'm always fighting with myself.
I think you can, but it's going to take you being willing to try new things and having a different perspective, being open to hearing those different perspectives and living that different perspective for a short amount of time and seeing if it works. When we deal with our mental health and we're trying to fix an issue that we're having a problem with, it's not easy and it's not fun. It is not fun to have to constantly try to rely on something or someone else to make you feel better. Like, why can't you just make yourself feel better? Right? And if you allow yourself to get to that point, you'll be able to, one, you're going to allow her to make mistakes and it be okay. And you are going to make mistakes and it's still going to be okay because you guys choose each other. And when you choose somebody, you're choosing somebody because mistakes and all, being a human being, I choose you because you're a human being and you're a human being that brings happiness to my life. I don't need you to bring happiness to my life. I have my inner peace. I have my inner strength to get through those struggles. But choosing you to be there and you choosing to be there with me, that just makes life better. Does that make sense? I think you can get there. I'm not saying your line of thinking is wrong. I want to make sure that you understand that. I'm not saying that your line of thinking, the way you're living your life, is wrong. I am saying that I think it can be better. And I say I think it can be better because it's going to be on you to change that perspective. And remember, I'm only telling you things that I have gone through myself, researched myself. Therapists have told me, psychiatrists have told me that these are healthy things and healthy ways to perceive the life that you live. So I'm going to move this forward, man. And I really do appreciate you going through this conversation with me and allowing me to give you my perspective on it, and you being open and honest with your line of thinking too, and your perception of how you deal with things. You know, a lot of us are sometimes too afraid to be challenged on our thinking when it comes to stuff like that, because like I said before, we like to think as human beings that we have a handle on our own shit and that we don't need anything on the outside to make us work. What I'm doing works for me. Shut the fuck up. You don't know what you're talking about. But the thing is that you're allowing me to give you a different perspective. And I really do appreciate that you allow me to do that and that you're opening to hear it, and without fighting me on it, without, no, you're wrong. No, you're absolutely wrong. There's no way in hell that'll ever happen. You're open to hearing it, right, wrong, or indifferent, and it's going to be up to you to think about it, change your mind about it, try challenging yourself on thinking about it in a different way. That's up to you. But you allowed me to do that. And I really do thank you for doing that, because not a lot of people are willing to hear opposing views and opposing ideas about how they are personally living their life. Okay. So as long as you're healthy, as long as you maintain a set of stability and at peace, I got nothing. That's, again, it's on you. But after hearing your story and how you think about things, and you're me just a few months ago. Okay. Like, you're me last year. And I feel like I have gotten better. People have seen a change in me. I'm seeing a change in me. And that's because I decided to challenge my ego, because it was my ego. I decided to challenge my ego on how I thought my life and how I live my life. So take it for what it's worth.
Yeah.
And again, thank you. And thank you for being open and honest and hearing perspectives that challenges your own. Not a lot of people can do that.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man.
I want to move forward in a little bit more of a lighter note. But wait, one more thing before I do. We talked about how your mental health stemmed from relationships that you've had. Your mental health issues stemmed from relationships that you had, right? And you don't know how it escalated to the point that it did. But it's a perfect example of what we say when we say you can't put your happiness into anyone else or to anything else, because people are fleeting. They have their own opinions. And if you do that, you run the risk of being very, very disappointed.
Right.
And it sounds like with you, what happened was there was a point in time where you put a lot of your happiness into somebody else. Rightfully so. They were women that you got married to. You would think they would contribute to your happiness. There's nothing wrong with that line of thinking. What happens when fights start to happen and arguments start to happen, and you start feeling like, well, if these fights and things are always happening, I must do something about it. And then we resort to threatening our own lives. There's something to be said about not allowing somebody else to dictate that happiness.
Yeah.
So, again, thank you. On to the lighter note. Your social media, bro.
What about it? Hey, okay. At least I kind of stopped with the thirst traps.
Why
You're looking at me like that.
I wasn't even going to mention those.
Oh.
But you know, I guess some women would be thirsty for you. I mean, I know there's a bunch of naval dudes. Anyway, no, man, what got you into social media? What pushed you towards starting this whole thing?
So God, when was it? So one of my friends, she always sent me videos on, like, yeah, she would always send me TikToks on Snapchat. And like once I first found out about TikTok, I was looking at it and I was like, this is basically Vine all over again, just an extra 30 seconds. Like I didn't even have Vine. Like I wasn't even crazy about Vine when it was the craze. But you know, she would always send me these videos and she's like, make a profile. You don't even have to post shit. It's just easier for me to send videos on to you on TikTok. And I'm like, all right, fine, whatever. So I made a profile. I kind of posted a couple of videos messing around, see what it was all about. And there was one, what was it? So I've been on TikTok since about like April-ish of 2020. But there was one video that I did like the night before the 4th of July where I got like fucking 900 followers overnight. And I was like, damn, that's insane. And I just started having fun with it from there. And then that was so July till February of last year. I had about 9,000 followers. Last February, started going live. And then, yeah, it just blown up from there. And I've been having fun with it.
Do you use it as an outlet?
I do.
What kind of outlet does it do for you?
So
let me rephrase the question. What kind of outlet is it for you?
So I have posted a couple of videos, where it talks about like what kind of struggles I go through and everything like that. Just kind of give people insight that don't know what it's like, or that ones that do know what it's like can relate to. But mainly, everything that I post, I just want to be that small change in somebody's life. Make their day better, whether it's for a moment, whether it's for the rest of the day. As long as I brought a smile to somebody's face, I feel like I did something right.
Well, the reason why I ask about your social media, obviously, is because that's how we met. That's how we came into contact with each other. But I also noticed that some of your content dealt with the mental health aspect of things. And, you did put positive messages in a somber way. And those are good messages to have. Your thirst traps, those gave me nightmares. But others, I'm sure, gave them dreams. I'm sure some of those naval guys had some wet dreams. But they're out at sea, bro. That's what I'm saying. It's wet out there. Anyway, I really do like some of the content that you put out there, because there are some really positive messages and things that you're putting out there that are allowing you to be vulnerable, not only to yourself, but for other people to see. And not a lot of people can do that. Not a lot of people are able to be vulnerable for others. And you're doing it in a way that allows you to be vulnerable, not only for yourself, but for somebody else to see, to know that they're not alone in this vulnerability. they can be vulnerable too. It's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. And it actually helps you feel better when you let shit out. When more people know what you're battling with up here, you don't feel so alone with it. Right. Yeah. And yes, you're still dealing with it on your own, but now you have a support system behind you. You have people in your corner now, whereas before you didn't have anything. And being able to realize that is it feels like, you know what, even if I fail, I have somebody here to help me back up, to get me going again. And it's a good thing. But like I said before about Band-Aids, is that it can be a Band-Aid. We got to be very careful how much we rely on it for our happiness or anything else like that, because it is just a social media app, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of people that I talk to and had on the show do say they use it as an outlet, and it's become a very common thing. It is an outlet for us. It's a way for us to express what's going on in our heads or how we're feeling, and allow other people to see it and either, you know, be a part of it or not. And it's the ones that choose to be a part of it, that make the choice to be a part of it, that has us feel like we have that our struggle isn't a purpose, or what we're sharing, that our struggle has a purpose.
Yeah.
And that what we're sharing can make a difference to not only ourselves, but to somebody else. So, I mean, it's a very common thing that I've been hearing with a lot of my guests. So I do recommend you stopping the thirst traps, though. Just stop. You know what? No. You could have your own personal thirst traps with her. Okay. They have
actually, as a matter of fact, somebody did make a backup account as of last night.
He knows I invited him.
Just for spicy purposes.
Oh God. Oh God. Well, I need to start being a little bit more careful in what I talk about on the main page for What Makes Us Fire, because I've been very blessed that I have not been kicked off that main account yet. Especially during the lives. Ooh, they get quote unquote spicy.
Oh, I had one. Let's see, my live Saturday night on my backup account. First time ever going live on my backup account. It got a permanent ban for ever going live for, what was it? Adult nudity and sexual content.
What'd you do?
Not a damn well.
We were talking about farting. Seriously, that's what we were talking about.
No, that night we were talking about what we got at Spencer's, and
but you were getting the crayons. We had already talked about that. You were getting the crayons, and I said, "Oh my gosh, you farted in front of the fan," and then like a minute later, it ended.
Oh yeah, I got up to go get something, and I happened to walk past the fan, and right when I did, it wasn't a coincidence. It was uncoincidentally just happened to fart. And she was like, "Oh my God, you farted in front of the fan." And then I got like banned.
Even TikTok can smell that shit coming out your ass. They're like, "No, screw this guy. Nah, no way."
No, I sent them an email. Well, I didn't know it, but Patriot Kens on TikTok. So I gave her. She helped me get my backup. And my backup account and my Bearded Texan up to 1,000, so I could go live on them.
Mm-hmm.
And I told her, I was like, even after you get them to 1,000, I don't care if you still have the login info, whatever. She submitted an appeal from her phone off of my backup account. I sent TikTok an email after everything happened, and then I submitted an appeal. So TikTok got 2 appeals from my account, and they're probably sitting there like, "How the fuck is this possible?"
Oh no, people always will send multiple appeals for for one reason, they'll send multiple appeals. I do that. I've done that before too. I was banned for 7 days for harassment and bullying, and I have no idea who I was harassing or bullying. All I was doing was talking about mental health stuff.
Oh yeah, that's another thing too. My main account. So what was it? It was not this past Sunday, but the Sunday before that.
Mm-hmm.
I was live on my main account and got banned for harassment and bullying until the 27th, which was a Thursday. So I'm like, okay, I submitted an appeal and it got denied, but I'm like, okay, whatever. I'll still be able to go live on Friday night. So go live on Friday night just to turn around and get banned again until the 4th on my main account. Like, you got to be fucking shitting me.
All right, man. What are your plans for what you're doing? Because you are growing a bit of a family here with the Ship Show, and I ask a lot of these up and coming creators and a lot of the large creators, like what are their plans for what they have going on? Because you have a voice now. There's a voice that you have that can be heard. Have you thought about doing anything with that voice now that you have and that reach?
Honestly, I haven't.
Would that be something for you to maybe start pondering about?
Yeah, it would be. Because like I said, I'm just doing it for the fun and, just wanting to, put it bright, just be that change in somebody's day. And with my lives, like I go live every weekend and everybody comes in, they're like, what's the topic? Because apparently lives have topics that they talk about. And I'm like, there ain't no damn topic here. It's just a bunch of people hanging out and having a good time. Even if you're going through some shit and, you just want to be surrounded by some good company, don't want to talk, that's fine. Just say, hey, I got something going on. I'm just going to hang out. Absolutely. Like, I just want to be a place for somebody that they can come to escape with
Right.
my lives.
Well, I'm gonna invite you to use your reach and what you have going on to help spread the word about us, What Makes Us Fire.
Oh, all right, yeah.
About not only the podcast, but about the nonprofit and what we're trying to do and the mission that we have, because you already believe in it, one, right? And two, the more people we can get the idea out and the mission out to, the better. You have different family than I do, different following. And I think the more people we can get aware of what's going on, the better, right? The more people we can get behind the mission, the better. More hands make light work, so to speak. So I'm inviting you to help us and be a part of What Makes Us Fire as an ambassador and as a, for lack of a better term, marketer for us. I think that would be awesome to have you on board and helping us do that. I think that for people that are starting to have a little bit more of a voice on social media or really in general at all, I think that if we can start using that to better somebody else's life in more ways than just a video, but actually having action and taking action, I think that we can do a lot of good. Myself and with What Makes Us Fire are starting to work with like the Great Mondini. We're working with Spread the Cheer USA. We're working with Tackle 22. Pedro Pops 951. He's getting ready to start a nonprofit that we're going to help with and work with. IGY6 22 and the podcast and his nonprofit, Fishing for First Responders. There's a lot of people that if we can all get our reach out together, that we can make a larger difference than we can individually.
Absolutely.
So I'm inviting you to be kind of an ambassador for What Makes Us Fire. Think about it, and we can talk about what that's going to look like and how that would work out and everything. But I really do appreciate your support and everything that you have shown me as a friend and as a brother in the civil service and what I'm trying to do here. So
I've already thought about it, and I would be honored to do it.
sweet. Awesome.
And I know I mentioned it to you before. How do I get on the committee there?
Well, that's something we're going to talk about off the podcast. But yes,
Okay.
we will definitely. I'll definitely be inviting you to a board meeting and stuff like that, so you can see how everything's run. You can get an idea of what it's like and how it works. So we'll talk about it off the podcast, off air. I don't want to give too much stuff about how we're doing everything, but I appreciate the fact that you said yes. So hell yeah, awesome. I'm gonna go ahead and start winding this down, man. And I always wind down the show with 3 questions. You've heard the show before. You've heard a couple of episodes, and the last 3 questions can be 1-2 minute answers. It can be a 5-word answer. I don't care. There's no right or wrong answer. It's just to basically allow us to kind of get this one final word in of whatever it is we want to talk about. My first question to you is, we're on a podcast and it's called The Ship Show. Welcome to The Ship Show. And you're the host of the podcast. Big Tex, Bearded Tex, Tex 2 Point, Texas Infidel, all your other fucking names. And but you're interviewing yourself.
Oh
right?
shit.
What's the one question you would have asked yourself, and or piece of information that you would have liked to share that maybe we didn't hit on too much?
Oh shit.
I get this response all the time. They just go silent.
No fucking idea.
There any type of piece of information you want to share? An idea, something about you that you would have liked to have shared that we didn't share?
I've always been like that one person that everybody can rely on.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've always had a heart of gold that I wore on my sleeve. Anybody can attest to that. I would say now, if you were to ask somebody who's known me my whole life, how was he versus, before he went into the military versus how is he now? They would tell you that I still have a heart of gold that I wear on my sleeve. And I feel like that they would say that my heart is bigger now than what it was then. If that makes any sense.
It makes sense. It makes sense entirely. It makes sense. I'm interested how and why you would think they would think that.
Like I've always been that go-to person. I can always tell when somebody's got something going on before they even say anything. And yeah, what is that? I guess it's being an empath or whatever it is. And it's a love-hate relationship. Like, I love that I can tell that, but at the same time, I hate it because I know what it's like. I see the hurt in their eyes and on their face, and it sucks.
Yeah, it does. When you're able to really feel how somebody is feeling, because you have the empathy with them and what they're going through, or just even sometimes the look on their face, you associate it with what puts you into that headspace that you're seeing them portray.
Yeah, and you'll do whatever you can in your power to sponge up what they're feeling.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I think that's a pretty damn good piece of information to know about you, because if you were a dickhead, I'd probably say, you know what, never mind. I don't want you on. I don't want your help, bro. You're a complete asshole. No. That's awesome, man. I think that just allows other people to know that it's okay to reach out to you if they need to.
Yeah.
Because you're going to be there for them. You're going to do what you can for them. And that's okay. My second question is, do you have any questions for me? Real simple. No questions for me. Nothing you want to know.
What was your first? All right. Scratch that. So if it's a touchy subject for you, I get it. But I'm always interested in like what was the like your first like call going out as a firefighter.
So that's the thing. I don't remember my first call. I remember my first call that made an impact on me, that made me realize, holy shit, yep, this is the job. Do you want to know?
I've heard, you know what? I've always heard that, and I can say that myself too, as being a volunteer.
Yeah.
I can't remember my first one, but that really bad one, woman's house went up, like everything went up.
Mm-hmm.
And she was cancer. She was either a cancer survivor or a cancer patient, and yeah, like everything went up. I was like, "Fuck."
Did she survive?
Sucked. Yeah, no, yeah, she made it out. But I'm just saying, like, it sucked that her being, either battling the cancer, being the survivor, and just losing everything. Oh, fuck. Like, it sucked.
Yeah. For me, it's one of those calls that, I have haunting images every now and then about. I'm okay with sharing it, but it was a call that was, it was a murder cover up. And I remember seeing the two burnt bodies of young girls, and
Damn.
seeing exactly what a human body looked like being burnt and charred, and still seeing the whites of their eyes. That I remember. That's when I realized, oh, okay, yeah, this is the job I signed up for. This is what I am. These are the types of things that I am going to be exposed to. That's the call that I remember. Like I said, it's still sometimes, like right now, I can see it in full detail in my head.
Damn.
So, but I have learned to not allow it to dictate how it makes me feel anymore. It used to,
right.
It used to give me nightmares. Just the image itself. But now it doesn't. It was a part of the job now, and it's an unfortunate part of the job.
Right.
But it is a part of the job that I have learned to not. I mean, it still affects me, but it doesn't affect me as strongly as it used to. If that makes sense. So
yeah, that's like with my buddy. He's been on the police force here in Shirts for probably like 12 years now, and whenever my dad passed away in October, he's like I don't know what to say. He's like, I'm so jaded because I do so many of these in my line of work. I was like, he's like, dude, I get it. I was like, nobody knows what to say when you lose somebody.
Yeah. Oh, no, I completely understand where he's coming from. Death in itself has lost, from before I was a firefighter to now, it's lost its significance on the emotional meaning behind it that a lot of regular people give it. Because for someone that's like me or within the civil service, and we see that all the time, it's almost like we realize, well, it's just a part of life. It happens.
Right.
Whether you care about somebody tremendously or you don't know them, sooner or later,
it's the
happen.
inevitable.
Right.
It's inevitable. As much as we would love to stop it.
Yeah. So I almost felt bad at one point for not having that emotion, but then I realized that it's actually healthy that I don't have that emotion because of the things I've seen and the way my mind's been molded from the job.
Right.
So, it is what it is. I understand it now better than I did before. So,
yeah.
My last question, brother. You're on What Makes Us Fire. I'm a firefighter, so go fucking figure. That's why, Maltese Cross and everything else. But the podcast is more about killing the stigma about mental health within the civil service realm, and that includes military and first responders, and really with anybody. But when it comes to being a civil service member, military member, first responder, there's something inside of us that drew us to this line of work. And it's a weird thing when you think about it, because how many different people are within this line of work? How many different ideas, backgrounds, religions, political views, sexual orientations, love interests, all these things, we all are so freaking different. We're just as different as the general population, but we have a commonality with the job that we chose to do. What do you think it is that drives us to have that commonality?
Selfless sacrifice.
Selfless sacrifice. Where did we find that from? Because there has to be this, and my idea is there has to be this general answer. There has to be something that's so general with the people that do this job, but we're so fucking different.
I would say like just growing up around it, probably. Because my dad, he did 4 years in the Air Force. My mom's dad, I think he had like 6. I don't know how many brothers he had, but between all of them, it was 72 years military. Yeah, 72 years in the military. So I think just like being around it, probably. Also like my buddy who's been on the force for 12 years, his dad, nothing but law enforcement while he was growing up.
So what would the excuse be for first generation civil service members?
First generation? Oh.
So like your answers aren't wrong. It makes sense. But for somebody that doesn't have that experience or lineage within the civil service realm, but they just chose to do it anyway, where did that want and drive and fire come from? What is it that makes us fire, that gives us that fire?
Wanting to make a difference.
What was it for you?
For going in the military?
No, for
what?
Wanting to be a volunteer firefighter, for wanting to go into the military, for allowing yourself to just do it.
Volunteer firefighting, just being there for my community, just helping them out. Going military, sacrificing myself for my country. Just that selfless sacrifice. That selfless act of putting everybody else before me.
I don't think your answer is that uncommon for people that do the jobs that we do. But I still find it very interesting that you have this line of thinking, but somebody who's completely different from you, completely different outlook on life than you, can do the same job you do with the same reason.
Right.
How did we find that same reason, even though we all think differently, feel differently, live differently, grew up differently? For me, it's just this enigma that I think is just not going to go really answered too well. The best answer that I've heard so far is that something somewhere allowed us to break down everyone to just the human level. And we realized that protecting or serving other humans is what we chose to do. How we came to that choice is still up in the air.
Right.
So, oh man, I'm gonna go ahead and end it there. I appreciate you coming on the show again. I appreciate you sharing everything you shared. Thank you for letting me get on thank you for letting me get on my soapbox a little bit from time to time. I do that, especially when I'm passionate about what I talk about. I do want to preface with everything that I've said and the advice that I've given. It's just that. It's just advice. It's an opinion based on what I've been through and what I've learned. You and what you do with it is up to you. And that's for everybody listening as well. You and what you do with that advice is up to you. I'm not a mental health expert, but I am an expert at sharing my story and the knowledge that I've learned. And I hope that if you feel like there's a possibility that it can help you, you challenge yourself to allow it to help you. So, saying all that, I'm going to go ahead and cut it off, brother. Oh, you got one more thing to say.
Well, a couple more things.
If you say another dad joke, I'm cutting you fucking off right now. I'm ending the podcast.
No. I promise you it's not a dad joke. I promise you it's not a dad joke. I think it was you that said it's okay to not be okay.
It's just not okay to stay there.
And do you know Sean Lowry, Sir Veteran guy on TikTok?
Yeah.
Have you interviewed him yet?
Not yet, no.
You need to get him on the show.
Okay. Sir Veteran guy, you're being called out.
Mm-hmm.
Well, even I'll message him and let him know too. But he wrote he has a book out called Veteran Mindset 2.0, and it's a book I recommend it for anybody to read it. It's a book and also a workbook about bettering your mindset. That's why the Mindset 2.0. And I don't want to steal his thunder, but I'll give all credit to him, Sir Veteran guy. He is the one to quote this, and he's the one to say that your diagnosis does not define who you are.
Absolutely. It's the same thing as just because you're sad does not mean you're a sad person. Just because you have depression does not mean you are a depressed person. It doesn't mean that is who you are. It is just like having diabetes. It's just a diagnosis. That's all it is. It's a diagnosis of what you are battling with.
Right.
That's all it is. And that's all it should be. It does not define you. It does not define you. Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to talk to him. Send him a message, give him my contact information, and have him shoot me a text and everything. Let him know. Tell him, hey, text this guy. Tell him who you are. He runs What Makes Us Fire podcast. If you know who, I think he knows who I am. We follow each other. So, have him reach out to me. I'd love to have him on the podcast. Anybody that's willing to share their ideas and perspectives on bettering the mental health of our civil service members, be it military or first responder, I am all about. Not to mention the families of civil service members, the spouses, the girlfriends, the aunts, the uncles, the children, the brothers, the sisters. The more information that we put out there for people to understand how our mindset works and why we find it so difficult to reach out for help, the better the understanding is going to be when we start working on ourselves.
Yeah.
So anyway, man, much love to you. Thank you
brother.
again. What Makes Us Fire family? This was Michael, aka Texas Infidel 52, aka Bearded Texan, aka Infantry Infidel 52 2.0, aka Weirdo, aka Thirst Trap Guy, aka Bearded Dude, aka Naval Lovemaker, aka no, I'm not even gonna fucking say that. No.
I said it for you. Dad jokes.
Y'all go give him a follow. Go check out some of his content. If you like what he's got, show him some love. Become a part of the Ship Show. And if you don't know what that is, catch him on live. That's exactly what he calls all his lives, the Ship Show. It is just a place for you to hang out, have fun, and just enjoy each other's company, which I have jumped in quite a bit and probably have turned it into an X-rated when it wasn't. Sorry.
Yeah, the Ship Show instantly became a shipwreck after dark.
Yeah, my bad.
It's cool. It's cool.
What Makes Us Fire family, have fun, stay safe, show some love and peace out in the world. You never know who's going to need it. You never know if you're going to be the one to make the difference. Being that difference feels really fucking good, i.e. being a good person feels good. Be the change you want to see in the world without allowing the world to dictate how you see that change happen. Just be better for yourself first and be the best version of you. And I promise you, if you're that person out in the world, you will make a positive difference. Much love to y'all. Have fun. Peace. You can say bye now.
Later on.
That works. Later on. Ship show out. Shit show. Ship show. Shit show. Oh, God.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Tex. I told you his form of what he deals with didn't necessarily come from the job. But I can promise you, the job and the stresses that he had to overcome while doing the job, being on a ship for God knows how long with little to no interaction with anybody new, I could only imagine what that would do to the human mind. But the cool thing about it was, and the part of his story that really hit me was, even though he was in this, quasi-stressful situation, very cooped up on a ship, he found those small instances where he can find peace. When he talked about going out on deck and looking at the sunrise or the sunset, and how he just felt whole. I think too often we allow ourselves to overlook the small things that can bring us peace. The small things that we don't really think about on a day-to-day because they pass us by so quickly, or we're so stressed and worried about something else that the things that God or whoever it is that you believe in puts in your way to remind you, hey, slow down. It's okay. You got this. We tend to overlook. He took advantage of what was given to him with the situation that he was in that helped him feel at calm, at peace. Don't get me wrong, it's not a end-all, be-all, fix-all. But it definitely reminds you that you still got tomorrow. You still got the rest of the day. Shit, you still got the next 10 minutes to figure out what it is you need to figure out, because you are still here. That part of his story really hit me. And I hope you guys caught that. Tex, brother, thank you. Thank you for coming on the show and sharing your experience, brother. Ladies and gentlemen, it's that part of the show where I say thank you for following, listening, and supporting the What Makes Us Fire podcast and the nonprofit. If you do not follow us on your social media accounts, and that is all social media accounts, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, you name it, we're on it. You can find us with the tag @WhatMakesUsFire. If you are not watching us on YouTube but are listening to us on an audio platform, we could use your subscription on YouTube. It's What Makes Us Fire space podcast. You'll see the logo. Again, What Makes Us Fire is all one word. I'm pretty sure you guys got that. But What Makes Us Fire space podcast. Go subscribe to the YouTube channel. Once we get to 1,000 followers, there is another avenue for the nonprofit to raise funds through advertising and everything else. We could use your help. So again, all social media and YouTube, What Makes Us Fire. If you'd like to reach out to me, you can email me at whatmakesusfire@yahoo.com. Just give me a minute to get to your email. I promise you I will get to it. You want to learn more about the nonprofit? You want to get some swag? Want to make a donation? Check out some more podcasts and see upcoming events? WhatMakesUsFire.com. That is our website. Let's get real here for a second. You find yourself on the edge. You find yourself in a crisis and you need somebody to talk to. The National Suicide Prevention Hotline is 100% free, anonymous, and confidential. They are there to help you get off that ledge. Make the call. The number is 1-800-273-8255. Again, the number is 1-800-273-8255. Making the phone calls not there for you yet, that's okay. You can visit suicidepreventionlifeline.org, where you will find a multitude of resources to help you on your journey to getting better for you. I also have to state that the National Suicide Prevention Hotline and suicidepreventionlifeline.org in no way, shape, or form sponsor or support the What Makes Us Fire Foundation. They're just two avenues that I truly believe can help you, because those are two avenues that I have used. Thank you guys. Thank you for everything. And I know I say it all the time. I don't know how else to show you that I'm so thankful for what you do for the What Makes Us Fire podcast and the nonprofit. But I do have one thing to ask. If there's anybody out there that knows corporations, a company, a large CEO, and they're looking for a nonprofit to make their yearly donations to, please have them reach out to us. I will stand in front of anybody and show them the passion that I have for what our mission is. We are still working on building our capital. I don't want to be working at building the capital forever. I want to start our mission. But to do that, we have to make sure that the machine running the mission is stable and does not fail. So that was my please help us. Much love to y'all. Thank you again. Stand by for the next one. We are going to have Brian and Kendra Ward, returning guests from Forward Project. What Makes Us Fire family. Peace.